Mr. Reyes and Mr. Smith are excused today, and Ms. Perry is excused to arrive late. But otherwise, we are expecting everybody here. So Mr. Cardenas, Ms. Hahn, Mr. Weezar, Mr. Koretz, Mr. Krikorian, Mr. Labange, Mr. Rosendahl. Hello. Right there, just like that. And Ms. Perry is here. So if we could have them and Mr. Wesson, I think it was here a moment ago, but join us. We will begin our meeting as soon as we have our quorum. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the City Council meeting for March 19, 2010. It's Friday, and we're in the John Ferraro Council Chambers, room 340 of City Hall, where we meet every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. I'm City Council President Eric Garcetti, and I'm joined by my colleagues who are here pursuant to Council rules. On time, Council members Alarcon, Cardenas, Huizar, Koretz, Parks, Perry, Rosendahl, Wesson, and Zine. Mr. Smith and Mr. Reyes are excused today, so the following three council members are late. Mr. Labange, Mr. Krikorian, and Ms. Hahn, if they'll please join us. I want to welcome all of our guests who are here today in council chambers, in particular wishing everybody a happy Nowruz, which I know we're going to be celebrating shortly, but we also, like most Fridays, will have a series of presentations and commemorations, and we're very excited to have everyone here for that this morning. We are televised live on Channel 35 through our city's cable system. We're rebroadcast in the evening. And we're also available for your convenience through the internet and through your telephone. Through the internet, go to lacity.org and click on the live links for a webcast that is streaming during these meetings, or archived footage of our past council meetings. Also available online are all of our agendas, which are posted here in City Hall, but also all the supporting materials for any of the items that we vote on are made available to the public for their convenience as well. Finally, on your telephone, you can call into council phone, which is at 213-621-CITY. That's 213-621-CITY, and you can listen into our council meeting or any of our committee meetings as well. We have our presentations for today, and our first one is with Council District 14, Mr. Huizar. Are we ready to do the census presentation? Hold on one second, Mr. Labange. And then after Mr. Huizar, we'll hear from Mr. Cardenas for our Nowruz celebration. We ask Jose if he's ready. Okay, why don't we call the roll while we're waiting?
Alarcon, Cardenas, Hahn, Huizar, Koretz, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti. 11 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
All righty, thank you very much. First order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
All right, Mr. Wesson moves and Mr. Parks seconds. Next order of business.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
All right, Mr. Cardenas moves and Mr. Huizar seconds without objection. Those will be approved as well. If we can run through the agenda, and let me just ask folks, we appreciate everyone here, but we're going to run through the agenda now, and colleagues, if you will please bring your attention to items that you'd like to call special on the items that are before us. If we can take up the first items, please.
Item 1 is a street vacation. The recommendation is to close the public hearing and instruct the city engineer to proceed.
Okay, without objection, we'll close that hearing and instruct the city engineer. Next item, please.
Item 2 is an item notice for public hearing.
Okay, we do not have any cards, so we'll close that. Anybody wishing to call that special? If not, let's go ahead on item 2 and please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, that is approved. Next items, please. Next items, please.
Items 3 through 52 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Okay. Colleagues, 3 through 52 are before us. Mr. Parks?
All 26, 27 special. And did you say there were cards on 37?
We had hearings on these already. We may have cards on them if you wish to reopen the public hearings on any of these.
If there's no cards on 37, we can go on consent. But I just...
Yeah, all of these will go on consent if nobody calls them special, okay, since they've had hearings. Okay. Mr. Zine? Right?
Yep, Jim.
We are up 3 to 52.
I think it's after 52.
Okay. Any other 40 I'll call special?
Excuse me, Mr. President. Continue 52 for a week.
Okay. We'll continue that till the 26th without objection. I'll call 40 special. Mr. Cardenas?
17 special and 19 put it over till the 26th.
Okay. One week continuance for number 19 if there's no objection as well. Mr. Alcon, did you have it? 28 through 32 for Mr. Alcon? Okay. Call the special. Any other specials, colleagues? Mr. City Attorney?
On 52, our office requests that the clerk add closed session language for that item.
Okay, for the continuation without objection, we'll add that. Okay, if there's no other specials, let's take up the balance of these. Actually, why don't we hold the number 3 and number 4 till Ms. Hahn, Mr. Krikorian is here, actually. Let's clock him in so we can take those up as well. We can put him on the board. Please open the roll on all the remaining items in this section, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Items 53 through 67 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration, and there is a request to continue item 61 to Friday, March 26th.
Let's hold that on the desk instead. Number 61, I'd like to call 65 special. Do we have cards on any of these as well?
Yes, there are cards on 54, 62, 66, and 67.
Okay. We'll close the public hearings on the other ones. Mr. Zine?
63 special, please.
Okay. Mr. Parks, did you have it? You okay?
Next one.
Okay. Let's take up the balance then. Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. Item 68, I understand there's a desire to continue that till Tuesday? Okay, without objection. And we're going to wait on the special meeting, so that will conclude those items from the regular meeting. Let's go now to presentations. And do you want to do something briefly from your chair over there, Mr.?
Okay, it's a great weekend. It's a great day in Los Angeles on Sunday. Please let me welcome for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Howard Sunken, which the McCord Group is putting on the marathon this year. It's very exciting. Mr. Sunken.
Good morning, Mr. President and members. Last year we came to you and asked you to embrace the vision that Frank had to take the LA Marathon from the stadium to the sea. This Sunday we will be doing that, and the race is completely sold out for the first time in its history, and it's because of your leadership and your determination to support Frank and what he wants to do, and we'll have 26,000 people running the LA Marathon on Sunday. Thank you. Students Run LA is 4,000 kids. $3 million in charitable dollars will be raised, and it's because you believed in the vision that Frank had, and I want to say thank you to each and every one of you, and we'll see you all out there on Sunday. Thank you very much. And Mayor Gelshad, thank you for your leadership in Beverly Hills. We'll see you on Sunday as well.
Give us a quick route from Dodger Stadium, from home plate. We go round first.
Not quite home plate, Tom. We're going to go to left field pavilion, through downtown, by City Hall, by the Disney Concert Hall, up by through Echo Park, up through Hollywood, Mr. Garcetti. We'll go to Orange Avenue, up by the, I guess, the Grauman's Chinese, down to Sunset, through West Hollywood, through Beverly Hills, through the VA, and we'll end at the Santa Monica Pier. And Los Angeles will become one major city with 5 different jurisdictions uniting as one on Sunday. So thank you.
We're out of here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Mr. LaBonge is starting to run it right now. If you see a man in a light suit this weekend running the marathon, that's just Tom LaBonge. Don't be alarmed. With that, Mr. Huizar for our first presentation from Council District 14.
Good morning, colleagues and public. I'm here today to announce that March 21st through the 28th is the Los Angeles Census Week. We all know that throughout the country today, people are receiving their forms to send in some very basic information so that we are all counted here in the United States. And today I am joined by the Mayor's Office, Naleo, a number of people from Council District 14 Complete Count Census Committee, and I am very proud to say that today on item number 67, the Council will pass a resolution declaring March 21st through 28th Los Angeles Census Week. We will be joined soon by our very own Mayor, who has played a very active role along with all our council members to ensure that Los Angeles receives its fair share. As you know, back in 2000, the city of Los Angeles was undercounted by about 77,000 people. That meant that the city of Los Angeles lost out on $200 million, money that could have gone to fix our roads, money that could have gone to ensure we trim our trees and do all the basic needs that the city has to do to provide services to the great residents of the city. We don't want that to happen again. And that's why, working with the people behind me here, working with a number of businesses throughout the city, nonprofits, and many, many volunteers, we are going to go out there to ensure that people send their forms in. Now, let me ask a very quick question. How many of us here have sent in their census form? All right. We want to remind all Angelinos that when you get it at home, you know, many of us have the tendency to put it aside and get to it, especially with bills. We have a tendency to do that, but we ask that you attend to it immediately, that you send it in. And we want to remind all Angelinos particularly that this information that is given to the Census Bureau is not shared with anyone else. It is confidential. It will not be shared with the IRS. It will not be shared with law enforcement. It will not be shared with any immigration official. We just want to make sure that the resources that the federal government is giving out goes where they are needed the most. So please fill out the forms, send it in, and ensure that the City of Los Angeles gets its fair share of dollars. So with that, let me turn it over to Norma Vega. She is in charge, she's the Executive Director of the City Census Office, and Norma Vega will share a few words with us. Norma.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. On behalf of our great Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, we are here today to acknowledge the work that a lot of the different community members and stakeholders, the council offices, city departments have all been doing for the past, I would say for over a year we've been really working at this. And I think that this group that we have back here is a testament of how important this is. And the beautiful thing about the census, it is the one issue, I think, or one of many issues that we can all come together. And it's been great to have all of these organizations representing a diversity of cultures, diversity of social services, faith, and as well as the different, like I said, the different departments and the council offices. So I know we're still waiting for the mayor, and we do have a couple of recognitions that we'd like. You know, there's a lot of people that have come to the table, but in this time of crisis and with the recession and all, it's been very difficult. The funding has been slim, and we know that this is why we're all working so hard. But we have a couple of people that we'd like to recognize here who have really stepped up and have really supported our city, and we have some certificates here. The first group that we'd like to recognize is Fundación Azteca America. Fundación Azteca America sought me, and they asked me, and they said, you know, we want to help the city, and they came with us with basically saying, what do you need? And they have helped us with a lot of in-kind donations, and we really want to be grateful to them and recognize them. The other organization we'd like to recognize is Providence Health and Services, who have also stepped up and have generously donated a small grant to help with a lot of the services that we'll be needing. And the third person we want to recognize, of course, this couldn't be done without the partnership of the U.S. Census Bureau. So if we could all please recognize these folks that have really stepped up to help the city. And with that, I want to hand it over to our mayor.
I'd also like to thank, first of all, thank you, Council President and members of the Council for allowing us to be here today. As you know, working with your offices, every city agency, we have spearheaded, along with many, many, many community groups, civil rights groups, the U.S. Census Bureau, and the partners that we acknowledge here today, Azteca America, Anheuser-Busch, Providence Health, and and services, we've put these complete count committees together, and the time is now to make sure that we do everything we can to address the need to count every single Angelino. And we're urging every member of the city family to lead by example, to fill out the census form. As was mentioned, it is now a short form, 10 questions, takes 10 minutes to fill out, and I can tell you, I filled mine out yesterday along with Councilmember Parks, Perry, and Labange, and City Controller Gruhl. And so we're asking all of our communities, and particularly, I know that we're here today to celebrate. Thank you, Councilmember Cardenas, as always, bringing the Persian community, the Iranian community here to celebrate Nowruz. And we want to really send the message to every community, but particularly to new Americans, to immigrant communities, where the undercount is the highest, about the need to fill out the census form. Remember that under the law, the information that you fill out is confidential, can't be used in any way by any other agency, any other individual. Under our Constitution, it is confidential, and so I want to say to all of you, please, as we celebrate Nowruz, as we celebrate the contributions of this great community, that we also remember that we have to participate in this census. So again, thank you all so much. Appreciate your efforts. We're going to be in churches tomorrow for the day of service, and of course, a number of the council members who are here will be present and assisting in that effort. We're going to have hundreds of people. There'll be thousands involved in the days of service at our schools, but there'll be hundreds involved in the census as well. We'll be fanning out and reaching out to as many communities as possible. I want to finally acknowledge Norma Vega. She has worked tirelessly, on this effort. I know that she's gotten me to more events and press conferences, but she's done it because she understands just how important this charge is, and I want to thank her and acknowledge all of the folks who have gotten behind this effort. Again, thank you. But one final thing, March 30th. March 30th, one of the most undercounted groups, in addition to immigrants, in addition to young people, in addition to people who don't have English as their first language, are renters, but also the homeless. And we're focusing on the homeless with a program that we call Be Counted Skid Row, but the program is a program where we're distributing more than 15,000 pairs of socks, and we'll have at these sites where we'll distribute the socks census workers who will help to count the homeless as well. It's the most far-reaching effort to reach out to the homeless in our city's history. Remember, 10 years ago, we had an undercount of 76,000, the second highest in the nation behind New York. We lost more than $206 million in federal funds. So this is very, very important. Again, thank you all very much. And I'd like to officially declare next week, beginning March 22nd, Los Angeles Census Week 2010. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you for your office's hard work on this. I also want to give a big thank you to the CD14 Complete Count Committee. We have a number of individuals here, so thank you very much for being here. And Councilmember Tom Labange challenged me. He said, my district is going to be better counted than yours. So I think we're going to challenge that to all the council offices to ensure that our council district is the best counted. Thank you very much, Mr. Labange. We will do that. My Complete Count Committee is here ready to work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our next presentation is going to be led by Councilmember Tony Cardenas of the 6th Council District to celebrate Nowruz.
enjoy the...
How you doing, Mayor?
I'm doing well,
You
buddy.
look well.
Thank you.
Good.
CD14's in the house. Boy, CD14's in the house.
Thank you very much, Council President, members. I'd first like to start off as the beautiful, beautiful young girls assemble here before us to celebrate Nowruz. I want to begin with a moment of silence in the memory of Asfani Arafi. She was one of our engineers, an immigrant to this country, and in a moment you'll see and understand why it's so important that we have a moment of silence, because she represents so much of her community, the Iranian community. Thank you very much. Happy Nowruz, Happy New Year's, everyone. Asfani Arafi passed away. She was one of our engineers in this city, and the number of projects and the lives that she's affected while she was here are tremendous. But it also exemplifies that we are celebrating a community that is the most educated immigrant community to this country, bar none. The most educated community to this country is the Persian community, the Iranian community. Let's give them a big hand. Also, we have some good news. This year's Nowruz celebration at City Hall is particularly important. On February 23, 2010, the United Nations, through the 64th General Assembly, officially recognized the 1st of spring as the International Day of Nowruz's affirmation of the life in harmony with nature, the awareness of the inseparable link between construction, labor, natural cycle of renewal, and the solicitous and respectful attitude towards natural sources of life. Nowruz is about the new year, it's about new life, it's about love, it's about respect, it's about peace. That's what Nowruz is about. And the beautiful thing about Nowruz, it's been going on for thousands of years, this celebration. And on top of that, in the words of Nowruz, the way it's described and celebrated, they don't just celebrate Nowruz for the Persian community. In their own words, they say it is the spring and it is the new year's for all human beings around the world. They celebrate for everyone. This is a true international, worldwide celebration coming from the Persian community, and it's been celebrated for thousands of years, and I'm very, very proud to have been the sponsor for now our 7th year in the city of Los Angeles, recognizing this wonderful community, the Iranian community, the Persian community, and their wonderful celebration. And with that, here to celebrate with us is our mayor, Antonio Villaraigosa, who's going to say a few words.
Well, to all my Persian friends and to all Angelinos, let me welcome you to Torangeles. As we all know, Los Angeles has the largest population of Iranians outside of Tehran. And we are very proud of the large Iranian population in Los Angeles, their contributions to medicine and science and engineering and so many business and so many professions. LA's been enriched by its diversity. LA's been enriched by the contributions of this great community, and you hear me say often that there are 37 nationalities that have the largest population here, and we have all learned from one another. Our customs, our food, our music, our dance, our culture. The fact that here in Los Angeles, Although we are all proud to be Americans and proud to be Angelenos, we're also proud of our traditions and our history and our language. And I know that Councilmember Cardenas and I wish we spoke a little more Farsi than we do. But what we all, I think, cherish is the many, many cultures of our city. And we want to acknowledge the Persian New Year Celebration Committee members, Amir Bhagarpur, Judge Ashley Tabador, Dr. Firuz Naderi, my good friend, Mr. Dalajani and his entire family, Poria Abbasi, Orlando Ward, Ada Shama Mubarak, to all of you. It is good to be here again. I look forward to continuing to work with this community as we all, to learn from one another, to grow with one another, to show the world that in this city where the world comes together, that Persians and Armenians and Latinos and Koreans and Chinese and Filipinos and Europeans and everybody, and the Irish, of course, and everybody knows. And, of course, Tommy LaBonge can tell you that I'm black Irish. My grandpa got here 100 years ago from Ireland, and that's really what LA's about. We celebrate Africa and Europe and Asia and Latin America and every continent from which our families have come. And again, happy Nowruz to all of you. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Villaraigosa. And also, I'd like to recognize our controller, Wendy Gruhl. She came here to show her respects and appreciation to the Iranian community. Do you want to say hello?
I will be brief as well, and I want to thank you, Tony, for your leadership, because over the last 7 years, I think you've educated a lot of people in the city about the Iranian community and the importance of Nowruz and the festival that appears in your district at the park, and so many people. I just want to echo the remarks of my colleagues about how important it is to celebrate the diversity of Los Angeles and to celebrate the Iranian community. And as you look in these chambers, and you can't see behind us, but they're filled with individuals and community leaders and stakeholders in Los Angeles who are from the Iranian community and have contributed to our diversity and contributed to our city. So I'm happy to be here today with all of the leadership and to thank you, Tony and the mayor, for your leadership in recognizing Nowruz. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. And our tradition and respect to the other elected officials who came here to celebrate with us as well. I want to just announce that the mayor of Beverly Hills, Jimmy Delshad, is here, the first Iranian mayor. And also, it's my understanding that John Noguez is here from Huntington Park. John, wave hello. He was here last year as well. And, Mr. President, we have our honorees today that we're going to acknowledge. Would you like me to do that now?
Yeah, go ahead, and then we'll hear from council members after that.
Thank you very much. Our first honoree is Judge Ashley Tabadur, and born in Iran. The Honorable Judge Tabadur is currently an immigration judge with the U.S. Attorney General and previously served as a trial attorney, and in the capacity of Assistant U.S. Attorney with the U.S. Justice Department. She is an honors graduate of UCLA and also Hastings. Judge Tabadur is a passionate community activist, participates in the work of the Levantine Cultural Center and the Pacific Council on International Policy. She's also a founding member of the Iranian American Bar Association. When not practicing law or participating in community programs, she's an adjunct professor with Chapman School of Law and has served as an adjunct professor at USC as well as George Washington University Law School. Judge Tabadur.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. I'm so happy to be here today. It's such an honor to be before this amazing body. Happy Persian New Year, and as we say in Farsi, Eid Shama Mubarak. Nowruz is all about new beginnings and an opportunity to honor and reflect on the people and the ideals that we value most. And when my family ran away from Iran, I never imagined that the tragedy of our departure would lead me here today. As an Iranian American woman, I'm particularly grateful for the welcome and the new beginning that I was given in the United States, my adopted country. To look back now and realize that in my country of birth, my voice as a woman would count only as that half of a man in a court of law, and I would be precluded from being a bench officer simply because of my gender, only underscores the greatness of this country.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you. I am proud to call myself an Iranian American and to have the ability to treasure and honor my heritage while achieving the American dream. As a member of the Iranian American community, I thank you for welcoming me, for embracing us with open arms. We are happy to be here, eager to become involved, to give back to the community, and to have a voice in our government. Thank you, and I have a happy and prosperous New Year.
Thank you, Judge Tabadur. Our next honoree is Dr. Firuz Nadiri. He has contributed to the American Space Exploration Program for over 30 years with a master's degree from USC and a PhD from USC. And I'll just briefly mention a few of his honors, such as NASA's Outstanding Leadership Medal, Technology Hall of Fame Medal, NASA's highest award, the Distinguished Service Medal, the Liberal Prize in 2004, Ellis Island Medal of Honor in 2005 for outstanding contributions that have enriched American society and exemplify its cultural diversity. Dr. Nadiri is a fellow of American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, the AIAA, and the list goes on and on and on. Dr. Firuz Nadiri.
Mr. President, Mr. Mayors, after living in Los Angeles for 40 years, it is such a treat for me to be here in our City Council's chamber in this beautiful hall. Thank you for making the time in your busy schedule to take us in. When I think about America, the most remarkable thing that occurs to me is that what's the genius of America is to take dissimilar people and forge them into a nation. I think that is possible because we come here and we embrace the ideals that define America, but we're also allowed to bring a little bit of our past with us. Yes, we go ahead and celebrate 4th of July and Memorial Day, but in return, we also introduce the rest of the country to a tradition such as Nowruz, and that is what makes this melting pot, which is America, so rich. Those of us Iranian Americans feel particularly blessed. On one hand, we have our roots in tradition, culture, and history of Iran that goes back many millennia. On the other hand, we have now integrated into this young nation, which is the beacon of democracy for the rest of the world. Thank you for all you have given us, and we hope that we will pay back in our own way in advancing our community and our city and our nation. So God bless America, and may God bless people of Iran.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Our next honoree once again demonstrates the commitment and the dream that is being lived here by the Iranian community, and that is Mr. Amir Baganpour is the first Iranian American graduate from West Point. He is the proud recipient of the National Defense and War on Terror medals, recognizing his commitment in defending our nation. Amir has been the executive officer of the Armored Cavalry Troop, an aide to Afghan delegation responsible for establishing Afghan Military Academy in Kabul, Afghanistan, and an aide to the Office of Foreign Military Officer. Amir is an MBA graduate of UC Irvine and a PhD candidate in Claremont Graduate University. Amir Baganpour.
Councilman Cardenas, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, and fellow Iranian Americans. Thank you for these gracious words. I feel a bit humbled today because we have so many examples of Iranian Americans serving in government and the broader community. I arrived in Los Angeles from Iran 25 years ago this week. And just as Nowruz is a celebration of the new year and a sign of rebirth with the coming of the spring, for many of us Iranians, our rebirth as Americans began right here when we landed in Los Angeles. With the coming of every new year, I feel reinvigorated with hope of what we could one day achieve, not just as individuals, but as a community, particularly for my generation, the next generation. I'd like to end with a quote from one of my favorite poems by T.S. Eliot. We shall not cease from exploration, and at the end of our exploring, we shall arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. Again, thank you. Happy Nowruz. Eid Shom Mubarak. God bless the Iranian people, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Once again, another demonstration of the proud relationship and the appreciation that the Iranian community has with our wonderful country, the United States of America. That men and women would come to this country and adopt this country as their own and would be willing to lay their lives down for this country and for the freedoms that we demonstrate in this country and they appreciate so much. In addition to that, we have many people to acknowledge, but I want to acknowledge one other person to come up and say a brief thank you for us putting this celebration together. There were a couple of people, Amir and Puriya, who came to my office shortly after I was elected, and they basically told me the sad news that the city of Los Angeles had basically refused or had not taken up the responsibility of celebrating Nowruz. And I said, not while I'm here. So for 7 years in a row, we've been able to recognize this wonderful, wonderful celebration from a community that has blessed us so much with their talents and their giving. But one of these individuals that I'd like to bring up is Mr. Delajani, Michael Delajani. His father couldn't be here. He doesn't feel well, but at the same time, the man that I'm about to bring up, just so you understand, ladies and gentlemen, how important this celebration is. This man that's about to say a few words came to this celebration, and I looked at him and I said, what are you doing here? Isn't your wife having a baby? He says, yes, she just had the baby a couple of hours ago. And he came here, obviously risking his life because I'm sure his wife wanted to strangle him. But he wouldn't miss it for the world. He wouldn't miss it for the world. So, Mr. Delajani.
I'll try to make it short.
Yes, please.
Honorable Mayor Anthony Villaraigosa, Honorable Council President Garcetti, Honorable Council Member Tony Cardenas, and Honorable Council members, I appreciate the opportunity of being here today. On behalf of my father, Mr. Izzat Delajani, who could not be here today, I wish all of you a happy Nowruz. As my father mentioned last Nowruz, Cyrus the Great declared the first human rights charter in history. Last year, my father requested the city approve the installation of a statue honoring Cyrus the Great in Los Angeles. After discussing it with Council Member Jan Perry, she has supported the installation of the statue in her district in downtown Los Angeles in order to constantly remind all the people of the world to respect the fundamental rights of all human beings. Council Jan Perry, on behalf of my father, the Persian American community, and all who respect human rights, we deeply appreciate your support. It is a great honor for all Iranians that the United States Congress recognize Cyrus and his first human rights charter, as well as United Nations approval of Nowruz as an international celebration. With these thoughts, I would like to wish everyone health, happiness, and peace in the new year. Happy Nowruz. Thank you.
And also, before I bring up our adopted representative for the Iranian community in our Nowruz celebration, Puri Abbasi, I'd like to briefly allow them the opportunity to present a check to the Midnight Mission. They have been wonderful over the years of celebrating a very great meal for hundreds and hundreds of people right outside of these chambers every year. But in the last couple of years, out of respect for the situation of the world economy and the local economy, they're donating, I think it's 15 or 2,000 meals. 2,500. It keeps going up. 2,500 meals to the Midnight Mission, and I'd like to give them the opportunity to present them with that opportunity. Thank you.
Are you going to assist? Well, my name is Orlando Ward. I'm with the Midnight Mission. As was alluded to, and I think we're all aware of, we're going through some of the worst economic times this country has faced. And during this time, it is often very, very easy to forget about the people who often are forgotten in our societies. As we celebrate the Persian New Year, we look at the coming of spring, and we celebrate renewal, I'm deeply moved that the Persian community would think about the folks that we're working with on Skid Row at the Midnight Mission. This sets the example I think we all need to take a look at as individuals and as members of this community. Now is the time more than ever for us to come together and recognize that the least of us among us needs to be one of the most important people on our mind every day. Because during these times when resources are shorter, they have even less to live with. The theme of this new year is let health, peace, prosperity, good fortune prevail on earth for all of humankind. Those are very, very noble thoughts, but they're not going to happen if we're not willing to step up, reset our priorities, and take a look at what we want to be as a community. So I am honored to be part of this for the second year in a row. 2,500 people will enjoy a meal at the Midnight Mission, and more importantly, we know as we toil on Skid Row that we're not alone. So thank you.
Puri Abbasi, our General Manager of the Convention Center.
Good morning, honorable council members, Mayor Zaragoza, and Los Angeles. I think everything that was to be said has been said, but not in Farsi. So with the council president's permission, I would like to wish Iranians all over the world a happy new year in Farsi. Thank you. از طرف شهر لس آنجلس، شهردار شهر لس آنجلس و انجمن شهر لس آنجلس نوروز باستانی را به تمام مردمان به خصوص پارسیان در سرتاسر جهان تبریک گفته آرزوی سالی پر از عشق، سلامتی و صلح را برای همه مردمان داریم. نوروزتان مبارک. Thank you.
Mr. President. So we've got 8 council members who are on the queue, 8 council members for their 1-minute comments. Mr. Koretz.
1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to thank Councilmember Cardenas for again hosting this important Nowruz celebration at City Hall. As the council member who represents Westwood, which is the heart of the Iranian community here in Los Angeles, I would like to warmly say salam, sobekhe, Eid Shama Mubarak. Which is my best effort to say Happy New Year in Farsi. Hopefully I came pretty close. I'm very proud of the Persian community. I wish you all a healthy and successful New Year. And for those of you who don't know, my office has been working closely with the community and the homeowners associations in Westwood to create a special designation at Westwood and Wilkins Avenue as Persian Square. Merci, Rizet, Khost. Which means have a good day.
Thank you. We'll be sure after that square is named that people say it very precisely so they don't wind up in Pershing Square. Mr. Weezar is our next speaker.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. I want to just say Happy Nowruz, and I wanted to celebrate with you in the city of Los Angeles the many contributions that the Persian community has given to Los Angeles, so a big thank you. I also wanted to mention that I know Mr. Izzat Dalajani could not be with us today, but his family is joining us. Michael and Sharam, thank you for being here. And last year, we named the first ever square after a Persian. Mr. Izzat Dalajani, we named the corner of 7th and Broadway after Izzat Dalajani for his contributions to Los Angeles, for his contributions to downtown, and congratulations. And I knew that that would not be the last that we just heard from Mr. Koretz. So congratulations. And it was a great celebration to be there with the mayor, with my colleagues on council, and you saw the tremendous support that has been given to Mr. Dalajani for all his contributions. He's been a trailblazer, and we know we will see more like him. So thank you very much. Happy Nowruz.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning to all, to our wonderful mayor from Los Angeles, our wonderful mayor from Beverly Hills. I was at the swear-in ceremony for Jimmy Dalside, the second Persian mayor, but also the first and the second from the great city of Beverly Hills. But to our wonderful Persian community, I represent the San Fernando Valley. We have an incredibly large Persian population, a lot of wonderful restaurants along Ventura Boulevard, the schools, the attitude of love, compassion, participation in community activities. And it's with that endeavor that we come here once a year to celebrate. I know you have an annual celebration in the park. We attend that. The wonderful food, the camaraderie, the beautiful flowers. I've been to many Persian events, and the flowers, I mean, you must have gardens everywhere where you grow the roses, the beautiful ceremonies that you have. So thank you for all you do for the people of Los Angeles, the people of America, the land of opportunity, and this clearly shows the unity that we have in this wonderful city of Los Angeles, led by our mayor, Antonio Villaraigosa, to bring people together in this celebration today, this new year, this time of remembrance, this time of refreshment, this time of going forward. So to all of you, congratulations. And it's great to see two mayors standing side by side. Jimmy rides a bicycle, and I ride a Harley Davidson, and I've challenged him to come ride the Harley with me. But two mayors side by side leading two great cities, City of the Angels and the City of Beverly Hills. God bless you all, and thank you for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hahn is our next speaker. Our next speaker is Janice Hahn.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I just wanted to rise and say Happy Nowruz. This is always such a great opportunity for us to celebrate with our Iranian community here in Los Angeles on this wonderful celebration. Anytime we can focus on spring, on renewal, on becoming new, on the cold winter is over and now comes the springtime. I think that's really what we need to experience here in Los Angeles. It has been a cold, dark winter in terms of our financial situation. It's a cold, dark winter in terms of the things that maybe we're not going to be able to do anymore, but we need to remember that spring is here, things will get better, and looking at the faces of these young, beautiful girls, they are our future, and listening to the judge, you are a wonderful role model for all these women that in this country and in this city, girls can be anything we want to be. And we just have to... we have to believe in it, and this kind of a celebration really helps us to remember what's important. To you who left your wife in the hospital with a brand new baby, if you need to take flowers, you can have mine, because I think you're going to need to show up with something after leaving her there. But what a great celebration. Mayor Beverly Hills, Jimmy, great to see you here. Great time for us to all remember that spring is here. It's time to focus on the future and what's good and renewable in Los Angeles. Thank you for this great celebration.
Thank you. Mr. Rosendahl.
Margaret, come on over here. Every year we celebrate this. It is a new beginning. It is life, and it is a hopeful moment. First of all, we all know the turmoil going on in Iran right now. and our prayers and our support are with the people of Iran for democracy to finally come to that country. You know, when the Shah fell, many people came to the United States and have populated Los Angeles. The strength of this great city, in part, is because of the immigration of the Persian community to our greater Los Angeles area. And your contribution has been phenomenal, and I'm extremely grateful for that. But I'm going to present my flowers to Margaret Hassaminejad. Come on over, Margaret. Margaret's husband, Ali Hassaminejad, every year, now he's about 84, goes back to his home country, opens up a clinic as a doctor, and serves the people. Every year he goes for 4 or 5 months. In a symbolic way, I want to honor Margaret Hassaminejad for being who she is, and her husband, Ali.
Thank you. Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, let me thank and recognize Councilmember Cardenas for bringing us all together for this very important celebration of Nowruz. I appreciate your leadership in this area, Councilmember. And I want to extend my congratulations, and I'm sure we all do on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, to the Delajani family for the new arrival in their family. What better way to celebrate spring? What better way to celebrate the beginning of a new year than with the beginning of a new life in that family. So congratulations to the Delajanis. And I just want to recognize the incredible contribution that the Iranian-American community has made to the great cultural fabric that makes up this country and this city. As the mayor noted, this is the center of the Iranian diasporan population outside of Tehran. And this community has contributed for generations to what makes this city so great. And let's face it, often in the face of ignorance and prejudice by some citizens here in Los Angeles. So I'm so pleased that we could come together here and recognize the great positive contributions and to dispel some of that prejudice and some of that myth that so many here seem to still cling to. I know, as the first Armenian American ever elected to this body, I know how important Iran has been as a welcoming center in the Middle East and in that part of the world to so many communities throughout the world who found shelter there and who found a way to escape from torment in their own countries by coming to Iran. And I know that we here in this country provided a similar opportunity for so many who were escaping the revolution after the fall of the Shah and so much violence that beset Iran. So I want to thank this community, this Iranian community, for the great contributions that you've made. And also, I want to join you in hoping that this Nowruz, hopefully, will be the year that we bring a spring to Iran, that we bring a new kind of Iran, and that we stand with the people of Iran who are standing up for freedom and for democracy today, courageously on the streets of Tehran, and all of us here in Los Angeles stand with them and with all of you in looking forward to a new day for Iran as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Krikorian. Ms. Perry.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and to Mayor Villaraigosa and to Mayor Delshad. It's so nice to see you both with each other. Mayor Delshad has been a wonderful friend of the city of Los Angeles in so many ways. Most importantly, in the area of clean air for all of our cities, and I so appreciate that. And to the entire community, I want to express my deepest appreciation for making a commitment to the Midnight Mission, and I hope that for those who are watching or listening, that they follow suit. Your contribution to sponsoring meals will go far more and make such a difference to the lives of the people who pass the doors of the Midnight Mission, much more so than giving people things out of the trunk of your car or a sandwich on the street, which has no lasting effect. This will have a lasting effect, and you'll be able to become a part of the Midnight Mission family and work with a wonderful organization. So I wanted to publicly express my gratitude. And to the Delajani family, I just saw Mr. Delajani Sr. Last week, and I hope and pray that he recovers quickly so that we can get about the business of doing his favorite project. So happy Nowruz and Happy New Year.
Mr. Labange.
Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome again, everybody. And Mr. Villaraigosa, as always, it's great to see you. And great mayor of Beverly Hills, I see you both running the marathon this Sunday, passing the baton all the way through, which is very exciting. But it's been a marathon as people grow in this city. It's been a marathon of life for people who immigrate here. It's been a marathon, and you're all winners, because winning is the competition. To compete is winning, and competing is winning. When you engage in life and the struggles that people have, so well articulated by Mr. Rosenthal. Give him another hand right there. But I just want to stand. The day will come again, and I love what Janice Hahn said, Judge, about you, which is so special, which we don't realize in the West as much, and the challenges. And always, Mr. Cardenas, you always find a way to bring everybody together, which is important to beautiful children. But there is a call that has come from Washington, from our State Department, to ask us, Mr. Mayor, to re-engage in our sister city with Tehran. At the appropriate time, we're going to welcome that back so we can continue the people-to-people program, which really helps the world go round. Happy Nowruz. Congratulations. Great day, everybody.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labange. And thank you, colleagues, for your comments. If I can just conclude, this is a wonderful celebration, and Mr. Cardenas, you do an extraordinary job with it, and thank you to our mayors, plural, for being here as well. Many people don't realize Nowruz is not just celebrated in Iran, but it's celebrated as far away as northwest China, in Albania, in Macedonia, in Bosnia, in Afghanistan. It started as a Zoroastrian tradition, but it's a Muslim tradition, a Baha'i tradition. It inspired the Jewish holiday of Purim. We look at this as the cradle not just of democracy, but of civilization. The Greeks get a lot of credit for being the cradle of democracy, but as was pointed out, Cyrus had the first human rights resolution. Later today we'll be voting, colleagues, and we have students here from Los Angeles who are going to be helping us pass a resolution in support of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. That is made possible by the contributions of Persian culture to this world, and the people who have come to Los Angeles to strengthen it, who today will be celebrating, and for the next few days will be celebrating eating sabzi bolo mahi and doing all the great things that are a part of the celebration. We also recognize our brothers and sisters that are fighting for democracy in Iran, and we maybe in commemoration should call it a year of patience and endurance, as it was declared by the opposition with Hussein Mousavi. But with that, we thank you for making Los Angeles great, for making our culture and civilization great, and here in this Temple of Democracy for making democracy great too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I present this proclamation, I would like all of the Persian people, all of the Iranian people who are here to please stand as I present this resolution to my friends, the Persian community, on this wonderful day of Nowruz. Thank you so much. Many of these people standing are actually public servants. They work for the city of Los Angeles in many capacities. They're proud to do so. They give so wonderfully and beautifully to this country, and they've embraced this country as we embraced them with our open arms when they fled their country to a place where they could prosper, to be judges, to fight in our military, and to do all of the wonderful things that have been done, and even to be a mayor, a representative of the people. Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cardenas and Mr. Mayor. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. Our next presentation will be led by a council member from the 5th District, Councilmember Paul Koretz.
Thank you, brother.
Mayor of Tehrangeles.
The people receiving the awards are going to go this direction. Just those, no one else. We'll have ruffles up.
Well, I'm standing here for another Feline Friday, where we offer one of the beautiful cats from our shelters up for adoption. Now, it would have been ideal if we had a Persian cat today, but we have a beautiful black and white domestic short hair named Charlie, although I think we're going to rename it Nowruz in honor of what we're celebrating here today. Charlie's ID number is A1094471. This cat actually looks exactly like my cat Chagall at home, except this is a very sweet cat and mine is his evil twin. But if you want to get the sweetest cat that I've ever seen, actually, this is the mellowest, sweetest cat. Never seen it before, but it's just like, it's as if I'd had it for years. It's so sweet. So this is your chance. If you're here in City Hall and you want a cat, this is the best cat you could ask for. Come on down and get it, or call my office if you're watching on TV at 213-473-7005 and come down and adopt Nowruz. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I know we have many people here. It's a beautiful cat, so please let us know if you're interested, and we have many beautiful animals. Thank you to everybody who sent in food for our food drive for our city shelters. We had over 5,000 pounds, we announced yesterday, of cat and dog food that people have given to our shelters at this time, and we invite them to go to laanimalservices.com to continue that great support. Our next presentation is from Councilmember Jose Huizar again from Council District 14 for Fuego Tech.
Fuego Tech in the house. Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. And, today we've had a lot of excitement in these chambers where we were honoring and celebrating the Persian community. We announced the Census Committee, and we're giving away a cat to a good home. And, here we have another great announcement and celebration. And many of you know them. They volunteered in your districts. And for the residents of the city of Los Angeles, sometimes you go out there and you take part in a community event, or you get informed about services that are offered by the city and others. And it's sometimes these folks here behind me who volunteer of their time to make Los Angeles a better place. And this group, Fuego Tech, are people who are involved not only to volunteer, but when there is a fire, when there is an emergency, they go out there, give of themselves, take time away from their families to ensure that all of us are safe. So I thought it was important to come here today to recognize Fuego Tech and to thank them for their countless hours of service, for their selflessness, and for always being there, no matter what the cause may be. They never say no. No is not an option. Even if their group is distributed to various events or commitments, they will always find additional volunteers to go out and give a helping hand. Since their inception in 2004, co-founders Pat Chibak-Reza, and one-time Women of the Year for Council District 14, and Anthony Claustro have been teaching valuable life skills to at-risk youth, while also enhancing their self-esteem by providing a positive circle of discipline through fundamental fire prevention and intervention training. Training, I'll add, that proved to be vital in last year's station fire when these brave young Rangers risked their lives to preserve life and property. So at this time, on behalf of the City of Los Angeles and the constituents of Council District 14, and I'm sure all the council districts here, I would like to personally thank you for all your hard work and commitment to improving our great city through the work that you do, and thank you for all, not only your service and commitment, but your friendship that you've been to many residents in our area, always giving advice and support, and for saving not only lives when you go out to fire, but saving the lives of at-risk youth. Thank you so much. And now we're going to hear from Pat Chibak-Reza.
I want to say thank you, Honorable Councilman Jose Huizar, for all your help and your staff and everything you've done for us, and for us to continue to be productive and mentor these kids, and we're there to serve you, and I'm very blessed to be there in your community.
Thank you all. My name is Anthony Clauster. I'm the fire director. All this credit really goes to all my firefighters that you see behind me, my fire coordinator, Jose Rangel, and all the firefighters that are here. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. We wouldn't be able to make this program what it is. And I'd also like to thank our partners, Millen Teresa Ballet, Michelle Dean with Girls Today, Women Tomorrow, Youth Opportunity Movement as well, and the other agencies that helped us out as well. Today, I'd really like to give this award to our councilman for being a great leader, a great positive role model, not just to ourselves, but all the Angelinos in his community. And we want to present you with this Fuego Tech Ranger plaque here.
Wow, I didn't know this. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything. Thank you. Wow, thank you very much. This is really an honor and a surprise, and thank you. And this is really, I only accept this on behalf of all the young men and women that you help out each and every day. So thank you so much. I really appreciate this. Thank you. Thank you for everything. And we also have another special presentation. Sylvia Lozano from New Image Emergency Shelter wanted to share a few words because she said that whenever Fuego Tech is honored and recognized, she also has recognized the important work they've done, so she wanted to come up here and share a few words. Sylvia.
Hi, good morning. I'm here representing New Image. Fuego Tech has been so much support with us. Anytime we have any event, I'll call them, Pat, can I get 2 or 3 volunteers? She'll call me back, no, I'm taking you 15. December, we had about 1,200 kids for Christmas to donate toys. All the guys were there. They were passing out lunches. They were calming the kids down. They were helping parents carry gifts to their car. About 2 weeks ago, we had a play. Ms. Jack Perry was there with us. Very helpful. They've never said no. They've always supported us. And we had a construction going on. Pat and her crew come. Pat is not only best friend, she's part of my family now. All these gentlemen are. I just give them the preps. They never say no. They're very helpful and do everything they can do. I give all my support for them, and I thank them very much, all of them, for always coming down to the shelter and help us. So they don't only do fire, they do the shelter, they work, they help us, the homeless and everything also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Just for you, Pat.
Oh, thank you.
That's some blues for you.
Ms. Perry?
Thank you, Mr. President. I also wanted to say thank you to all the graduates and members of Fuego Tech for being so good to the shelter. It means a great deal to me. It's in the 9th District, and we started it in the 9th District, and to be able to build the shelter in as part of a bigger community means a great deal, I'm sure, to the people who live there, transition through there, and also the people who work there, and it means a lot to me, so thank you.
Last but not least, I really want to thank the mayor of the city of Los Angeles and Lisa Sarno, who's part of the Millen Teresa Ballet. For all of you guys that don't know, Fuego Tech has a site over at 960 South Mission Road. We give away free compost and free mulch to any residents in the city of Los Angeles. If you guys want to get your free mulch and compost, please feel free to come to our site, and we'll be glad to help you out and provide you with all the mulch and compost that you need to be able to beautify the city of Los Angeles.
Tell everybody the address.
960 South, 850 North Mission Road, Los Angeles, California, 90033.
I also want to thank you. And I also want to thank the Family Source Center, who always been supporting the youth opportunity in their community. I mean, they've been a great help, and I want to extend my gratitude to them, too, as well.
Thank you. So thank you very much, and thank you for this recognition. This is really, really means a lot to me. And another big round of applause to the volunteers from Fuego Tech Crew. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Huizar. Now I'd like to recognize the council member for the 8th District before he sits down. There you go. Got him. Council member Bernard Parks.
Jump right onto the truck. You the rear guard over there?
Yes.
You know what your responsibility is.
Making sure everybody gets down there.
You can live with that.
Blackberry and crackberry.
Oh my gosh. Where's Jan Perry?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Let me ask Jan Perry to come up, and I'm going to have her kick this off because she's the one that commandeered me into this event, and so let me get her up at the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Well, Mr. Parks and I have now developed a tradition where whenever there's some kind of a disaster, we like to stand out on Main Street, and because he was a former police chief, I like to make him stop the buses and get on the buses, and we try to raise money to help people. So we did this again for the second time, and I'd like to ask the folks who participated in this, and in particular, we were very fortunate to have Chris Schabel anchor on NBC, KNBC, Channel 4, help us raise the profile of this event. Come on up. Oh, everybody come on up. Do you want me to go? Okay. And I was very grateful for the support of KNBC, because without them we would not have gotten the attention that we needed, but it helped and it made a big difference. And in a minute I'm going to, along with Mr. Parks, introduce some very special people. On January the 28th, with the help of generous Civic Center workers, visitors, residents, a total of $133,532.10 was raised to support the Salvation Army's Haiti earthquake relief efforts at the Civic Center Haiti Relief Drive. Now, this drive was a result of the partnership between my office, Mr. Parks' office, KNBC, the Salvation Army, Clear Channel, and Radio Korea. The earthquake in Haiti devastated the nation and left thousands upon thousands of people homeless, hungry, and in need of very basic services. Well, we live in a global community, and so Mr. Parks and I both felt that it was even more evident by the generous flow of support that we received that day. And I want to thank everybody here in City Hall, all the folks who came on down and helped out and stood in line and stood out there with their buckets. Ms. Hahn was there, volunteered their time, donated their money, and sponsored our effort. I think it was a true success. Throughout the drive, media sponsors, KNBC broadcasted live from in front of City Hall, encouraging people from throughout the Los Angeles region to drive to Main Street and give whatever they could to help those devastated by this disaster in Haiti. I remember one man stopped and he had a box of pennies that was so heavy that it was unbelievable, but I believe it amounted to about $80 worth of pennies. Volunteers included myself, Mr. Parks, Mr. Labange, Ms. Hahn stood on Main Street with mini Salvation Army kettles collecting coins, cash, and checks to support the efforts for Haiti. And then the clouds parted and Radio Korea showed up. Radio Korea. Towards the end of the day, we were doing okay, but it wasn't great. But it was okay. These are tough times. Radio Korea had been conducting its own phone drive simultaneously and raised $109,000 from their listeners who could not make it down to City Hall in person. And so we wanted to really, it was one of those jaw-dropping moments when somebody walks up to you with a check for $109,000 and you didn't expect it for a good cause. So, Mr. Parks and I, we would like to thank them publicly, and also all the media sponsors for their commitment to community and to our global community, because Without the support of KNBC and Radio Korea and all of their partners, we would not have gotten the word out and raised so much money for such a worthwhile cause. So thank you to all the media sponsors here today for seeing the value of this partnership. Now, the Salvation Army has raised millions to support Haiti relief. The Salvation Army has had a presence in Haiti since 1950 and currently operates schools, clinics, a hospital, feeding programs, children's homes, and church-related activities across 2 major facilities in Port-au-Prince, close to the epicenter of the earthquake and at other locations in the country. They have done great work, and I am proud that we were able to support their efforts, and so I want to also thank them again. So, Mr. Parks, I know you would like to say a few words, and we'll bring some of our friends up to speak.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Perry, and I certainly appreciate, one day sitting here at council, Jan Perry said, why don't we go out in the middle of Main Street and raise some money? And we did that, and it was a fun day, suffered for a week after that, but it was a fun day. But it was one of those things where we saw the electronic media as partners came through for us, and one of the things I think back on, a young lady, I believe is the report of Ms. Park, called me about 3 or 4 days before the event, and I was kind of strange to say, why would Radio Korea be interested in an issue where we're going to stand in the middle of Main Street and raise money for Haiti? And so she said, how does this impact the Korean community? And I said, well, it's just like any other humanitarian issue in the fact that we have the ability to help people that are in distress. We had no idea that Radio Korea was going to take this on as a project, and so we heard about our different partners that day, and as Jan said, we were all sitting there exhausted saying we had a pretty good day, and they were so casual as to how they walked up and said, can we be of help, and pulled out a check. And we said, yes, you can be of help. But it was a wonderful experience, and we just wanted to make sure that we honored them appropriately, and along with Channel 4 and also the Salvation Army, who's been on the ground in this tremendous tragedy from the inception. And so we wanted to ask Mr. Keith Esparos to come up, who is the Director of Content NBC, and also ask Chris and also Rebecca to come up and make some comments. And then we'll follow them with Mr. Richard Choi from Radio Korea. He's the Vice Chair, and he'll introduce those who are with him, and then we'll have the Salvation Army make some comments. We're represented by Lieutenant Colonel Victor Leslie.
Good morning still. When the quake occurred and we started to see those images coming in from Haiti, we immediately go into reporting this tragic story, and you can't help but also having a feeling of helplessness as you see these awful images come into our newsroom. So when Councilwoman Perry and Councilman Parks called to say, would you guys be interested in partnering and helping us raise money for the quake victims? We were really honored, and probably one of the easier decisions that any of us ever has to make. So we were really thrilled to do this. I, of course, make Rebecca do all the hard work and setting all this up, and then ask Mr. Schabel to put the face on it all. And but it was also inspiring to see Ms. Perry and Mr. Parks. Probably intimidating to the people they went up to as they solicited money, but it was really a privilege to be part of this whole thing, and for that we're grateful. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris.
I would just like to say that we report on Los Angeles daily. It's even better when we can serve the community, and it was an honor to be a part of this effort, and it was an honor to give back.
Thank you, Council. I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of NBC4. We are very proud of our relationship with the community. We've made a special effort to reach out to those who are underserved and underrepresented, and in this case, neighbors very far away, but so close to our hearts. And we've continued to reach out to the people of Haiti by continuing that story. In fact, broadcasting a 30-minute special just this weekend about the efforts of, but the LA County Fire Department and the Urban Search and Rescue Team that traveled there to do their part to rescue 9 people trapped under the rubble in Haiti. And so this is, we continue the story, we continue to follow it, and the Salvation Army, in fact, we just partnered with them about a week ago when they conducted 1 million meals for the people of Haiti, and we were happy to support them in that way too. So you can always count on NBC4 to be there for you in times of tragedy and times of joy, and thank you very much.
Mr. Choi, Vice Chair of Radio Korea. And would you, all of the Radio Korea come up?
It is truly an honor and a privilege to be standing here today. I'm here on behalf of 1.5 million Korean American in Southern California. Thank you very much. We continue to send our prayers of hope and love to the people of Haiti who still have a long journey of recovery ahead of them. Thank you.
Also, we have Lieutenant Colonel Victor Leslie.
It's my privilege to be here today to partner with the City of Los Angeles, more specifically Councilmember Parks and Councilmember Perry. The Salvation Army has been blessed to be part of Haiti for over 50 years. I grew up in the Caribbean, so I've been there myself. My son-in-law is a Haitian, and so it was personal, the effect of what happened in Haiti. We are so blessed that the city and the members of the LA community, NBC4, Radio Korea, Clear Channel, and all of you who have partnered with us to raise over $133,000 to serve the people of Haiti. The Salvation Army has been there, and we continue to be there, and we continue to be good stewards of the resources that have been placed in our hands. So thank you so much.
And I understand that Radio Korea has a surprise today, and I'd like to invite them back to the microphone for a quick second.
Here is another check for around $20,000 for the Salvation Army.
Thank you. Mr. Labange, did you want to add your good wishes before the final?
I just want to thank Ms. Perry and Mr. Parks. I really want to thank the Salvation Army. In the 1994 earthquake, the Salvation Army was throughout Southern California. And as Mr. Parks mentioned, they were always in Haiti before and after. And KNBC4, I love your new commercials. It really talks about where you are. And I know where you are because I see the people who work for you all over the city. And it was special to have you there that morning because it drove more people down to Maine. And Chris, if we had a football team in Los Angeles, I think you could be a strong safety because no one tackles a job like you do and got such a great smile. Congratulations, everybody. But I do want to say this. Kamsahamnida Chingu, Radio Korea #1 in LA.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to present, on behalf of the Los Angeles City Council, to Radio Korea, a big thank you, and we appreciate your efforts. And I'd like to also present to Channel 4. Okay, let's go in the back and do this. Yeah. And then also Salvation Army.
Back and take group photos.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Perry and Mr. Parks. And our final presentation, Council District 7, Councilmember Richard Alarcon.
We're going to go back to some more formal pictures. Thank you. Thank you.
Actually, Mr. President, this presentation is as chair of the Jobs and Business Retention Committee to celebrate our Annual Participation in Minority Enterprise Development Week Awards. I'm joined by First Deputy Mayor and CEO of Economic and Business Policy for the Mayor's Office, who also has the longest title in the history of Los Angeles for any city employee, Austin Buettner. We are here to recognize some businesses that have been awarded recognition for the businesses that they operate. I am very pleased to congratulate the LA MBOC program, Los Angeles Minority Business Opportunity Center. This is their 13th annual Minority Enterprise Development Awards, and so I'm honored to serve as the Master of Ceremonies for this event. This week recognizes and promotes the nation's minority-owned business enterprises and their supporters. As a state senator, I was very pleased to introduce the microenterprise bill, which passed with Governor Schwarzenegger's signature, to set them apart from other small businesses so that they could compete fairly. My wife and my father was a small businessman for 45 years. My wife is currently a business person, so I recognize the challenges that these small businesses have, but I also, having introduced that legislation, recognize that the fastest growing sector of our economy is small businesses, particularly those that are owned by immigrants and women. And so it is appropriate for us to recognize small businesses for their tremendous contributions. And we talk about job creation all the time. This is the fastest sector of our economy that grows jobs for our communities. And so having said that, again, it's my pleasure to serve as the Master of Ceremonies here. We also want to recognize that we recently, as a council, on a motion that I introduced as chair of the Jobs Committee, provided $15 million in money in federal debt that we took that will be paid back in community development block grants. And already to date, 33% of the awards have gone to minority business owners. There have been over $10 million in requests, and $2.2 million have been awarded. In fact, I'll be introducing a motion to double the $15 million contribution to $30 million to ensure that we're continuing to keep the stream of dollars going to our local businesses so they can create jobs and job opportunities for our community. I am also, as I mentioned, pleased to be joined by our newest Deputy Mayor, Austin Buettner, and recognize that what a tremendous challenge we all have to work in partnership for job creation, but he already is out there beating the streets to make sure that where opportunities to save jobs are present, he will fight to save those jobs, as currently we did in the internet issues that came before the council. And so we want to welcome him today because he gets it with regard to minority business opportunities.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Alarcon. Thank you, Councilman Garcetti. And thank you, councilmen and women, for allowing me to speak for a moment. The Minority Business Opportunity Center has been operated by the Mayor's Office since 1994. This is actually our 15th anniversary celebration of minority enterprise development. Actually established originally by the President of the U.S. in 1983. What we want to do is recognize today the role that minority entrepreneurs play in our American economy through job creation and providing value adds and goods services in our community. I'd also like to recognize three members of the MBOC team, Linda Smith, Dorothy Randall, and their colleagues who day in, day out work with these entrepreneurs to provide capital and help their businesses grow. In particular, I'd like to highlight the work of MBOC this year. They've successfully brokered almost $50 million in contracts, $17 million in financing. That's created over 100 jobs. Brief applause, please, for the team at MBOC. We're privileged to have our important guests in business here, and I'll turn it back over to Councilman Alarcon. Thank you for the chance to address you, and I want to add my welcome and congratulations to those members of this community. So with that, I'd like to present this year's honorees. And I would also like to say that at the close of this presentation, we will be taking pictures in the back. I'd like to invite all council members to join with us at that time. First of all, we have the manufacturing firm of the year, Unified Nutrimeals, Representative Shabir Kashyap. I know I didn't say that correctly. Kashyap, I believe, President, and he's representing Council District 1. And I didn't say Debanked Foods Incorporated. Thank you. Thank you. The retail firm of the year is to, not the certificate that I have in front of me, so let me, I think I switched them. The Zeman Group, President Karen Zeman from Council District 8. Excuse me, not Karen, Karim. And with that, I will reach in and pull out my glasses. Thank you. And the Director's Award, it goes to Tampico Spice Company owner George Martinez from Council District 9. And who hasn't eaten Tampico this week? Gabriel, okay, congratulations. Thank you. George is represented by Gabriel, his son. The professional services firm of the year is Allied Protection Services, Inc., owner Leon Brooks, Senior II from Council District 11. All right. We'll take pictures. The construction firm of the year is Deborah Dyson, electrical contractor, owner Deborah Dyson. Congratulations. We'll take more pictures. The distributor firm of the year is Liberty Paper, represented by Alex Ismael. There you go. Thank you. The technology firm of the year is Metro Video Systems, Inc., represented by Robert Weir. Bob Weir. Yeah, nice to see you. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Did you? Sure, nice. And the green firm of the year is RMJ Technology, CEO Jerome Tolliver. You know what? I missed one. That's why they were out of order. I apologize. Yeah, I did miss one, so I apologize. The media firm of the year is the Black Business News President and CEO Earl Skip Cooper from Council District 8. Congratulations. With that, we want to applaud not just these small business people, but all the small business people, today we're recognizing in particular those minority businesses that strive hard, struggle to make the bottom line work. We recognize that they are making our city function better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alarcon. Congratulations to those recipients. We want item number 8 to go forthwith, please. And let's go to number 65. Mr. President Eric Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We'll be coming back to public comment just after this, but I know that we have our student task force of Human Rights Watch here, students from here in Los Angeles, led by the one and only Pam Bruns. It's great to see you all here for this item number 65. A little earlier before you arrived, we were celebrating Nowruz, which is the Persian New Year. And in the card that was given to us by the committee wishing us Happy New Year, it said the world's first charter of human rights. It showed a picture of it from Cyrus the Great. We sometimes trace our human rights ancestry back to Greece, but actually even before that, in about 550 BC, Cyrus the Great, king of Persia, during the Achaemenid Empire put forward the first Human Rights Charter, and it's in that tradition that we are here today. And I ask your support, as we've done in these chambers, to support an international human rights treaty that has very important local ramifications. When the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was written, it was Eleanor Roosevelt who said, after all, where does human rights begin? And to paraphrase, she said, not in lands and oceans away, but here in our backyard, in our workplaces, with our students, with our own activists as we see here today. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly on November 20th, 1989. It became effective as an international treaty on September 2nd, 1990. It is the only human rights treaty to specifically recognize the vital role of the family and parent-child relationship. And the United States and Somalia are the only two countries that have not yet ratified. Somalia, on a good day, has a barely functioning government. The United States is the only other country that has not ratified the Convention on the Rights of the Child. Adoption by this city of the Convention of the Rights of the Child, just as we did with the Kyoto Protocols before our government adopted them, we adopted them as a city, just as we did with the Convention to eliminate all forms of discrimination against women, which then inspired our federal government to do the same thing, not only will enhance the stature of the City of Los Angeles as a municipal leader in promoting the care and well-being of children, but it's also consistent with the past support that I mentioned with other human rights treaty. The convention would provide a single, comprehensive framework within which the diverse arms of the Los Angeles City government can assess and address in a consistent manner the rights and the protections of our children. So today I ask for your support in that resolution, which will advance policies and practices that are in line with the principles of the Convention on the Rights of the Child in all city agencies and organizations that we interact with. And with that, I know we have a couple of student speakers. If they want to come forward to the podium and just give their public testimony as well today. I know they just
Thank you,
put their cards in.
Mr. Garcetti. We have Pilar Garcia Brown, Miriam Shestaz, Hani Tajar, and Robin Wang. So take it away. Go ahead.
Good morning, distinguished council members. My name is Pilar Garcia Brown, and I am a member of the Human Rights Watch Student Task Force at Palisades Charter High School. I am honored to be a member of this delegation and to speak with you today. The Student Task Force, comprised of students from 9 public and private high schools in Los Angeles, works to raise awareness about human rights issues and to create advocacy activities in our schools and in our communities. As youth ourselves, we focus on the rights of our peers across the world and at home. For the past year, we have studied the Convention on the Rights of the Child, the CRC, and attempted to enlighten our fellow classmates, our communities, and even politicians on the importance of U.S. ratification of this crucial treaty. From giving classroom presentations to creating simulations of refugee camps, the Student Task Force shares the same goal, to promote the well-being of children all over the world. From meeting with formerly incarcerated youth to hearing from a former child soldier, my fellow students and I have seen the faces of human rights violations. If you were to see these individuals and myself in the same room, you would not be able to tell us apart. But these children have experienced a vastly different childhood. We have become aware of the extent of injustice that often goes unnoticed and without remedy, and realize the need for immediate action. We have become inspired to speak on behalf of these individuals for the purpose of giving those that are forcefully silenced a strong and determined voice. That is why we are here today, to urge the LA City Council to adopt the Convention on the Rights of the Child. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
My name is Miriam Shestak, and I am a member of the Student Task Force at Crossroads School. The Convention on the Rights of the Child, or the CRC, is an international human rights treaty created to promote and protect the rights of all children and to help meet their basic needs. It sets forth basic standards, including the right to clean drinking water and education, and protection from discrimination and abuse. Our commitment to children's rights is both global and local. As Los Angeles children with a full range of rights, we find it imperative to speak on behalf of all children, not just the lucky ones. 193 countries have already ratified the CRC. Even with all the different countries and problems in the world, these nations have been able to come together and concentrate on children's rights. The CRC is the fastest and most widely ratified human rights treaty ever, and since its adoption, we have seen significant improvement in children's rights all around the world. However, we are ashamed to report that the United States and Somalia are the only two United Nations states that have not yet ratified the CRC. And even Somalia has recently indicated intent to ratify in the near future. As both a children's rights advocate and an American citizen, I'm embarrassed by my country's failure to acknowledge the rights of its youngest and most vulnerable members. Our lack of action is especially inexcusable because the CRC can be implemented into our policies and programs for children right now. The provisions contained in the CRC are largely consistent with U.S. and California law. The City of Los Angeles has the power to help promote children's rights in America and in the world. By adopting the CRC, Los Angeles would take a huge step forward in the national campaign for U.S. ratification, by being only the second major city to make this commitment.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
My name is Robin Wong, and I'm a member of the Human Rights Watch Student Task Force at New Road School. As a children's rights activist for my entire high school career, I've learned about the wide range of issues children face in the United States and the international community. Upon learning about the CRC, I was excited to see that this is the first international treaty to cover the full range of children's rights. That's one of the reasons we feel so strongly about supporting the CRC. Also, we believe Los Angeles adoption is important because it will show that Los Angeles is a leader in protecting children's rights. By not ratifying the CRC, the United States looks like it is failing to recognize the plight of children everywhere. We have the opportunity in Los Angeles to take a stand for our children and ensure that no child's story is left untold. Without ratifying the CRC, the United States cannot be a part of the Committee on the CRC and therefore cannot contribute to an international discussion on children's rights. By taking a stand and adopting the CRC in Los Angeles, we are able to maintain a strong local discussion of children's rights. The CRC thus gives us the opportunity to show our solidarity with the international community and protect our children in the way that we, as Americans, Californians, and Angelenos, see most befitting.
Thank you. And our final speaker on this matter.
Hello. My name is Hani Tashda, and I'm a member of the Student Task Force at Palisades Charter High School. On behalf of all the members at the 9 STF schools, I would like to thank you for welcoming us here today. We hope you will join our campaign to protect children's rights by voting yes on the resolution Council Member Garcetti submitted for the Council's approval. By enacting this resolution, Los Angeles would demonstrate its commitment to leading the country in protection and promotion of children's rights. With the adoption of the CRC, Los Angeles will be able to make progress in areas of concern to families and children all across the city. It is our responsibility to stand up for human rights and show the rest of our nation that we will begin this venture in our own community. As Eleanor Roosevelt once said, human rights begin in small places, close to home, so close and so small that they cannot be seen on any map of the world. Unless these rights have meaning there, they have little meaning anywhere. Without concerted citizen action to uphold them close to home, we shall look in vain for progress in the larger world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the students for their comments. Speaker, Bill Rosendahl.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank the folks, the young students from the West Side who came here to speak and articulate it. You know, we're all connected, and young people all over the planet should have basic civil and human rights. It's a no-brainer. We think about it here in the States, but to see Somalia and the United States are the two countries that haven't endorsed this is mind-boggling to me. I just can't understand why that is the case. We will obviously support you and pass this to send another message back to Washington that they they should be protecting children's rights. We know all over the world that children are used and abused. And we see, slavery. We see entrapment. We see all kinds of negative aspects. And somebody has to fight for the young people. And I want to thank you all for fighting for your young compatriots all over the earth. And I also got to thank Pam Bruns over there with the Human Rights Watch, who has been fighting for basic human and civil rights for as long as I've known her. You're a great leader in the community. We appreciate that very much. But thank you for doing this, and you'll get our support. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cardenas.
Yes, thank you very much. I want to thank all of you younger people for making your voice heard, and please understand that it's not only in this country that young people need to speak up, but young people need to stand up and speak up around the world. Fortunately for you, it's easier to do in this country because you have the freedom of speech. You have freedoms that are basic in the Constitution of the United States, and other people around the world don't enjoy those freedoms. But please understand that your voice is heard, and it's very important. Councilmember Rosendahl just pointed out one of the atrocities that happens to tens of thousands of lives on any given day around the world, and that has to do with human trafficking. Human trafficking is something that's atrocious. It's something that should never occur to one human being, but it's happening all over the world, and it happens right here in Los Angeles. And I'm very proud to say that Los Angeles has stepped up and created one of the most sophisticated and complex ways to fight and combat that. However, it's voices and it's awareness that are really going to make an impact on that issue. So for the first time, I want to make sure that we welcome you, young people, and you can talk to my office. I'm Councilman Tony Cardenas, about how young people can be part of the awareness about human trafficking. For example, when I became aware of human trafficking, I happened to be watching the news, and there was a brothel in Los Angeles. An aware neighbor said something's going on next door that doesn't seem right, and what they found is a handful of young women, mostly underage women, that were being prostituted, and they were brought to this country illegally, but they were being prostituted to try to pay off what it was for the people who were keeping them captive, to pay them for bringing them to this country. Again, slavery of human beings happening right here in Los Angeles, but it was the awareness of a human being, someone who reached out and said something's wrong, and something certainly was wrong there. So I give you that example. Anybody can be those eyes and ears, and I welcome you because you're already active, you're already aware group of young people. Perhaps with your network, we can even expand further on combating this atrocious issue that goes on every single day called human trafficking, and it's happening right here in your Los Angeles. So once again, thank you for stepping up. Thank you for being a voice for children around the world, and at the same time, understand that we have issues going on right here in our own community that we could use your help on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. That matter is now before us for a vote. Colleagues, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That matter passes. Thank you. Congratulations. Mr. Garcetti?
Forthwith to the mayor.
Forthwith on this matter. Mr. Labange?
Yeah, number 70, back to committee, please. Number 70, 7-0.
Request by number 70 to committee.
We're not in the special meeting yet.
Oh, we're not there yet, so we won't do that. Hold on, Mr. Weezer. 26 and 27. Request by Mr. Parks to continue to Wednesday. Number 26 and 27. Continue to Wednesday. Mr. Weezer?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. If I could call number 33 special and 55 continue for a week.
55 continue for a week.
So we would have to reconsider that correctly, and then reconsider it, and then continue for a week. 55 and call 33 special.
So on the reconsideration, open the roll.
On item 33?
Both of them. 33, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
And the next one?
55?
Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Very well.
Continue 55 for 1 week.
And 33 we will hear.
33 special.
Special. All right, we go to public comment now. Walter Bechtel. Walter Bechtel, you here, sir? Walter Bechtel's not here. Joseph Gentry. Joseph Gentry? Is Joseph Gentry here?
Hi. Good morning, City Council members. I don't really see a lot of City Council members here. correspondingly, I see Mr. Bernard Parks. And generally, I had a question that if anyone on the council can answer. Generally, the information that was received here Wednesday, has anyone reviewed the information and contacted the IRS or a local newspaper? Mr. Bernard Parks, hello?
Sir, address your comments to the full council, please.
Well,
and your clock is moving forward.
If the information that I've submitted Wednesday is immediately contacted with any newspaper, IRS, generally that they have oversight in the matter, any local news media, has the information been reviewed? Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir. Carol Schatz?
I just would like to say, too, I have 49 seconds.
Well, your time is still on, sir. Go ahead.
Yes. Could you mail me my actual information that I left with you when you're done with the information? You do have my address, I would hope, and that you just, mail me the information that I dropped here, and thank you.
Thank you, sir. Carol Schatz? Carol Schatz. Dr. Williams. Dr. Clyde Williams.
Dr. Clyde Williams, 4115 Barrett Road, El Sereno, Northeast LA. Yesterday was a very interesting day over in the DWP. An 800% increase in ECAF. But what is ECAF? ECAF is supposed to be a variable, uncapped, unreviewed, unapproved increase in our rates on a quarterly basis. They took it from 0.1 cents up to 0.8 cents. That doesn't sound like very much, but you'll be seeing it soon in your bills. However, they also included in ECAF, which should have been primarily for fuel variations, uncapped, progressive changes in the entire rate structure. There's going to be a trust fund for renewables. There's going to be several other things, all of which will be unregulated, unlimited increases over the next 5 years, maybe even longer. They're going to put together a whole bunch of things, supposedly, if you can trust them, so that there's a solar program, renewables program and such, but we have to trust them because we don't trust them right now. But what's going to happen? We're going to get substantial increases, not for just 1 year, but for the next 5, maybe even 10 years, up to 2020. Why? Because the mayor has a coal replacement program, but it's not going to be paid under his particular watch. We have solar programs which should be funded, but can't we fund them as a specific rate increase for solar, specific rate increase for wind turbines, specific rate increases for the coal replacement? All of these are very good things. However, they're going to be put into a kind of semi-slush fund that can be raised every quarter for the next X number of years. So there's no regulation of it, no review by even the Board of Water and Power, nor this council. So we would highly recommend that the whole subject of the ECAF and its various morphs be taken under 245 and considered.
Thank you, Williams. Michael, carry on. And we have one more speaker after Ms. Carry On. Arnold Sachs will be our final speaker on public comment.
Yes, I see the two people I want to speak to are not here, Mr. Reyes and Mr. Labange. What's that? Oh, you're here. You look like Mr. Reyes. You sent a letter out not too long ago stating on March 15th that you're going to start charging people $15 for weed abatement and fire hazardous. According to Section 57.21.07, hazardous vegetation. Yet, in Mr. Reyes' district, I keep telling him about the hazardous vegetation he has, but he doesn't clean it. Here's a letter sent by Mr. Weezar's office to Mr. Reyes' office on September 22nd of 09, stating that this parcel is an eyesore, a blight, and a known fire danger hazard. But Mr. Reyes does nothing about it. How do you guys sit here and face yourself as a bunch of hypocrites? You send out a letter to homeowners telling them they got to clean their property, yet the council district sends another council district telling them that you have a fire hazard, but you don't clean it. That is the best definition of hypocrisy I've seen so far. And I don't know how you guys wake up in the morning and shave without cutting your throats. You seem to put your mistakes, your financial mistakes, on the public and expect them to pay for your mistakes. Yet you continue to add and add and add, find other ways, just like shysters used to do in the old days, to rob the public.
Arnold Sachs.
Yes, good morning. Thank you. Arnold Sachs. In the economic development meeting that was held earlier today, I tried to bring up a fact about the cost of pensions and how that factors into economic recovery. But I was told that it's not heard in that committee. And it's wonderful to be so specific in your endeavors while the Titanic sinks. It should be on every council committee's agenda how to control the cost, how to look into the cost of pensions. This article in the Beach Reporter, which is a local newspaper in the South Bay, said that pension costs have increased by 2,000%. CalPERS saw its investment earnings peak at $260 billion in 2007 and plummet to $160 billion last March. But the pensions cost of pension increase by 2,000% has occurred over 10 years. So prior to that, the pension costs were increasing because money was rolling in. And how has pension costs increase? Well, let's say you get grant funding for jobs. And you'd say, okay, we're going to get a grant. So instead of the city having to pay $3 million for a project, the grant covers $1 million. But that only covers the salary. It doesn't cover the benefits, and it looks great up front. And you're all so busy backslapping yourselves that the $2 that are paid for the pension and the retirement and the health benefits goes unaccounted for. But it comes out of the general fund. Because if you got a federal grant, and the federal grant paid for the salary and paid for the pension and paid for the retirement, then it would be a federal employee. But you don't have federal employees working for the city. You have grant employees.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. That's our final speaker. Mr. Bechtel, we called you. You weren't here. And you are now here. In the future, please be here when we call your name.
I was here. I was over in the clerk's office. In fact, I would have been here earlier today if the MTA had been doing their job the way they were supposed to, etc. I had already expressed my desire to speak on item number 38 last Tuesday. I don't know why somebody didn't put a card in for that. I know you really don't want to hear me speak. Maybe that's the reason. I don't know. But as far as your approval of item number 38 is concerned, that's an apocryphal bunch of BS. Fact is, you already approved of it even before it went to committee. Most of you people don't even read these things. It says there, to approve of the project, since it complies with the national objective. I don't even think you people know what the national objective is, let alone whether or not it complies with it. Permanently relocating people, forcing them to pay double, in my case, almost triple the rent that we were paying in order to bypass the rent stabilization ordinance does not comply with the national objective. But it doesn't matter. That's what the point is. You people don't care what something says. You already put yes in the box before you even read it, because you don't care what it says. You're half asleep. You come in here, and it's what the people supposedly said. This thing didn't even properly go to CUP meeting. My written input wasn't even put in a CUP meeting, but it's been approved of already, and then I see sneaking in back of this is the Catholic Church and some $8 million float loan to Bank of America. If you had truly been concerned about what the people wanted, then you would have taken the input. The project wouldn't be done the way it's supposed to be, and none of us are being allowed to come back. How does that benefit any of us? It only benefits you and this little feather you keep putting in your cap. You don't care about us at all.
Thank you, Mr. Bechtel. Number 61, continue to the 24th, please, Madam Clerk. Item 61 to the 24th. And next item, please.
Item 17, called special for Councilmember Cardenas.
Mr. Cardenas, number 17, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. If the representatives from the Housing Department could come forward. In the interest of time, we'll keep the discussion brief. But this, council members, is a reoccurring item. There's at least, normally the state opens up the opportunity for the TCAC process about twice a year, right? And they don't have to, but that's the custom and practice of the state of California, right? Yeah. Usually twice a year. And the deadline this year is March 25th, correct, for organizations, for-profit, not-for-profit, that would like to do housing in California. If they'd like to participate in the TCAC process and apply for state dollars, then they really need to get, not really, but they are supposed to right now get their applications in by the 25th of March. Correct. Okay. And prior to doing so, we need to make sure that if we want those companies to participate when it comes to subsidized housing in the city of Los Angeles, we have our local process that we need to get done in order for them to have a fair shot like other organizations throughout the state that they'll be competing with, correct? Correct. Okay. The reason why I wanted to explain that is because so far, we've done this very well. We've competed very well, correctly. People who put in applications to do housing in the city of Los Angeles have done decently well, sometimes better than others. And we always encourage that because many of us do agree and understand that having affordable housing and more housing stock is important, not only to the housing department, but to the community of Los Angeles as a whole. But the reason why I wanted to have a brief interaction with the housing department before all of us council members is just to make sure that we can improve on our process. For example, being that the people or the organizations that have applied, and how many applications came through our process locally this time?
First of all, Rushmore Cervantes with the Housing Department. We received a total of 26 responsive proposals for this particular notice of funding availability.
Okay, and then based on the Housing Department's recommendation, it's been narrowed down to, the recommendation is how many projects?
7 projects.
7. Okay, so you can see, members, we never have enough money to provide funding for all the good proposals. It's not that the other 20 proposals were no good. It's just that it's very competitive and there are limited dollars. However, limited dollars is one thing, but unfortunately, it seems as though we have crunch time sometimes when it comes to the decision-making process. And rightfully so, the Housing Department is involved in the details and the micromanaging of the process, etc. And then the council is the final say as to whether or not we're going to go with the recommendation from the Housing Department, amend that recommendation, etc. And here we are getting very close to March 25th, and we certainly don't want to hinder this process and, due to process, knock out the opportunity for housing competition for these state dollars. So, in a nutshell, to the Housing Department, what recommendations do you have right now that perhaps you could engage in to help you, the Housing Department, and the City Council, the legislative body, to have perhaps a little bit more time for us to deliberate, to assess your recommendations, and perhaps ask more questions, and perhaps sometimes you may want to go back to the drawing board and reevaluate that recommendation. Can you give me some examples of some things we could do?
Well, certainly, Councilman and members of the committee. The department's going to meet with all developers that did not score well and did not receive recommendations for funding this round, so we can walk them through the process of what the department looked at in making the evaluations for proposals for funding. We'll do the same thing with the council offices as well. Then moving forward, as the next notice of funding availabilities come forward for the committee as well as the council, it's important that we look at the criteria that was developed in response to feedback from the stakeholders as well as from the council and mayor's offices as we move forward to craft guidelines for the subsequent NOFA. The last NOFA that we're discussing now that was released, there were modifications made to this particular guidelines based on input from the stakeholders, and this was vetted through the Housing Committee along with Council. So I think it's important as Council looks at subsequent NOFAs, they really need to look at what the impact was from the prior NOFA and if projects receive funding or not, and look to determine what potentially should be modified in the future so that we have a balanced approach to awarding funds.
Okay. And the concern that I have is that whenever the council has a short amount of time to evaluate recommendations, it's very frustrating sometimes when perhaps we have some questions that with a little bit more time we could get more clarity and perhaps even have it reviewed again by departments in general, in this case the housing department. For example, during this process it seemed as though those projects that had submitted and had already been on paper awarded the opportunity to participate in a wonderful program that was put out by the state called Prop 1C that was passed by the voters, basically saying put housing next to our heaviest transportation corridors and to help with global warming and all those issues and the reducing carbon emissions and everything. And then during the process, it appeared that due to matters beyond the housing department's control, a signal came down from the state saying perhaps it's going to take a bit longer for those dollars to go out to projects. So therefore, it wouldn't have made that much sense for those projects to be awarded so many points, because even if they did get state dollars, it would be a mismatch, the dollars wouldn't be used, and then those projects would be for naught. I get that. But at the same time, what frustrated me is it was our understanding that in the process that was something of value. And then, due to circumstances beyond the department's control, you rightfully so changed those values and then redirected the process, and different projects were awarded higher points, etc., and that's how we came with the list of 7. My point to all of you is, in the future, when something like that happens, I would expect that the housing department would say something has changed. You still have the responsibility of doing your internal process. You still have the responsibility of evaluating as best you can and trying to predict, it's not a science, trying to predict how to put the best projects forward. But at the same time, in the future, if you could let the legislative body know what's going on, perhaps you'll get some inquiries, perhaps you won't. But in this case, it really came down to when the list came out, then the questions to the department came out, then the department told us, well, something had changed beyond our control, so it made more sense to go in a different direction. I understand that. However, it was very frustrating, not only to the people who applied, but also to the elected officials for those communities that were hoping they would see good projects move forward in our districts. So is there ways in which you can...
Certainly.
Your 4 minutes over.
Certainly, Councilman. The Housing Department very much wants to provide the Council as much information as possible, as soon as possible. In reference to the State California Allocation Committee, Tax Credit Allocation Committee, their determination that they would not honor Proposition 1C funding literally was disseminated about 4 to 5 days prior to the release of our transmittal. So it was just within a matter of about a week to 10 days from the time that we received notification to you actually hearing it in the Housing Committee. So certainly in the future we will, when we hear information such as that, we will convey that to the elected body so they're aware of what the department's facing in the future.
Thank you.
I'll push my button again.
Well, go ahead. You're the only speaker, so push it again. You get 3 more minutes.
Get the clock going again. There you go. Am I up again?
Go ahead, Mr. Carter.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. So my last question to the department is this. When is the next NOFA coming out of HCED? After this?
We anticipate coming back to the committee for the next NOFA sometime late April, early May, and this will be for the July tax credit round.
Okay, so hopefully what we can do is we can streamline not only the process, but the communication so that there's less frustration all the way around. There's a lot of energy that goes into this. This is a wonderful thing that we're doing here, that government is stepping up and actually putting millions and millions of dollars into housing for the most needy people in California and in Los Angeles. The last thing we need is for that process to be tainted with frustration unnecessarily. Again, I appreciate the professionalism that comes out of your office, but at the same time, even with the most committed relationships, sometimes there's frustration, sometimes we get upset at each other or what have you, but what we need to do is always be ready to reevaluate, look back, decide what we can do better so we can limit that and then reduce that, and then we can have a much more, maybe a few more smiles in the process, because it is a wonderful thing and a lot less frustration on everybody's part.
Certainly.
So thank you very much for all of your hard work. I look forward to it going smoother and us learning how to communicate better in a much more timely manner. Thank you.
That matter is now before us for a vote. Colleagues, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Very well. Next item, please.
Items 28 through 32, called special for Councilmember Alarcon.
28 through 32. 28, and I think we have some cards, Mr. Alarcon.
Oh,
Would you like to hear
yeah, call the cards, please.
28 through 32? We have a card on 30. Pardon me? Well, there's one card on, Arnold Sachs is the only card on 30 and 32. Mr. Sachs, 30 and 32, sir? Arnold Sachs on 30 and 32. Ma'am, can you please hold the students up so Mr. Sachs can get to the microphone to speak, please? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Good morning again, Arnold Sachs. Item number 30 is implementation of a program to provide city-owned parking lots at no cost to film and television productions. So I'm kind of curious, just on the rare chance of bringing this up now, that I thought the mayor had a plan to sell city-owned parking lots. And if that plan goes through, and this contract is for, I believe it was 4 years, what will then be the status of those city-owned parking lots in reference to the filming companies, because the city won't own them? Will the contract still be enforceable? Because we know that leading the cart before the horse is pretty much the modus operandi for the city council. 32, there should be a limited amount of days before you waive the fees that should be included in this concept, because if they don't work for a few days, then the city ends up losing money.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Alarcon, 28 through 32.
Members, these items are presented all together because they are all part of the efforts we've made to retain filming in Los Angeles. Excuse me. We showed, obviously, as a council, our strong support last October 7th when we supported 19 recommendations to make it easier to film in L.A., and today several of these items are coming back from that original list. This week I want to point out that a report was released by the New York Comptroller, Thomas DiNapoli, who called the film industry one of New York's key economic drivers. They're not giving up this fight, and we have to keep finding new ways to keep filming in L.A. We're not going to win this battle to keep jobs local without a fight. So items 28 to 32 are part of that continued battle to help make it easier in Los Angeles. Item 28 is regarding Film LA's permit for coordination of services. Specifically, we had asked them to incorporate a marketing component, and they have done that with the help of the CAO as they negotiated that process, and I think they will be announcing and giving us a chance to see that marketing component soon. And so that was part of the 19 recommendations we made, and item 28 is the culmination of that effort. Item 29 is regarding LADWP report. We had asked them to open up space under power lines to allow parking and to also work to provide power nodes in different locations in the city, in 3 locations actually, to ensure that that companies who are filming will be able to plug into these nodes as opposed to carting these huge generators through our streets, and by doing so alleviate the traffic problem and also reduce the cost, because all they'll be paying for is the power. So I can tell you that DWP has already initiated this at the John Ferraro building. There's 2 more locations, including City Hall, that will be incorporated. And they've also opened up the space under the power lines so that people filming will be able to use them free of charge. The item number 30 provides free parking for the entertainment industry at city lots. Department of Transportation, and I would also combine the Department of General Services have been working very hard to find ways to reduce the cost or charge no cost at all when during non-operating hours, and they've done that, and they have a program that will, I think, help with some of the parking complaints that we've been getting from the film industry. Item number 31 is regarding Recreation and Parks report. As you know, many of their locations are prime locations to film, and they have listed a number of improvements that they have made, including film coordinators. When told that approval cannot be given by the park location, they will elevate the request to the park film office supervisor for review. And these little changes really expedite the opportunities to film, particularly when you're talking about TV, which transitions very quickly in terms of identifying the location and then wanting to film within a couple of weeks. And number 32, item number 32, if you will let me go over since I'm doing 5 items, the extension of the film use waiver. We, for the past 4 years, have had this film use waiver, and it includes City Hall and many other city buildings, and it allows them to film for free on city buildings. I want to point out the cost of this, by the way, is less than $100,000 per year, and I want to point out that the City of New York, which is one of our competitors, they've increased fees for municipal buildings up to $3,500 in New York City just for one building for one day. And so we are demonstrating by extending this waiver for 4 years our commitment for the next 4 years to, again, be not only provide the best film industry workforce, but also to look at other ways that we can reduce the negative impacts of our economy on the film industry, and to reduce the cost of filming in LA, and therefore encourage more filming in Los Angeles. So all of these items are consistent with the 19 recommendations that we made back in October. One of them is brand new, but altogether they combine to help us move our agenda to increase filming in Los Angeles, and I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Alarcon. Mr. Rosendahl, followed by Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Alarcon. You earned those eggs today. You did a heck of a job in putting this whole thing together that made things happen here today. Just before I go any further, I just want to acknowledge the Open Magnet Charter School in Westchester. Would you all stand up for a quick second so that people can see you here? Watching democracy at its best. Welcome, Westchester. Thanks for coming here today. Mr. Alarcon, the one issue that is of great interest to everybody is the new Venice skateboard park. It is the most remarkable looking place, and filming has become a big part of it lately. And I just look forward to us doing a full analysis of course comparison with other cities for that particular kind of thing. Obviously on Venice Beach, I'm worried this summer about how we're going to keep going with the cuts, but there's opportunities there from Film LA and the filming companies to use that park, but also we need revenue streams coming from it. So everything you're doing on this is great, and thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. Ms. Hahn?
Thank you. I just wanted to stand up and thank Mr. Alarcon for bringing this forward, paying attention to it, focusing on this is absolutely critical right now. And I know that's one of the messages that I keep talking about during this difficult time is, we're never going to become, a city that's prospering until our economy picks back up. And this is something that certainly will help our economy. There's no reason that any film shoot ought to be happening anywhere else. Los Angeles is the place. We have it all. We have all the great backdrops, the oceans, the mountains, the deserts. I mean, this is where it should be happening. I also hear from family members of those who are in the film industry, and when one member of the family has to go to New York or New Orleans for weeks at a time, it puts a burden on the families as well who live in Los Angeles. So we want to do everything possible to make it more economically feasible to have these film shoots happening in our city. So thank you for that. We want them to know we will bend over backwards to keep the film industry here. It's important. It makes sense. It will help our economy. And, anything we can do, appreciate you really focusing on this. It's key. I think we can be a model for the whole state of California. There's no reason the film industry should be outside of California. Again, we have the best weather, we have the best sites, we have the best locations, and we want to make sure that they know this is an industry that started here in Hollywood. It should stay here, and we want to be as accommodating as possible. And anything else that they bring up that we can do, we want to keep working with them until we give them absolutely no reason to go anywhere else to film these TV productions or movie productions. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Chairman Alarcon, for your leadership on this issue. I think, as we're facing the horrendous budget challenges that we're facing in Los Angeles right now, we can all have different views about how best to approach that challenge. But the one thing that I think there's absolute unanimity about in this council and in the city is that we have to put Angelenos back to work, and that the one true way out of our current challenge is to make sure that we have good paying jobs here in this city. And Ms. Hahn mentioned many of the assets that Los Angeles has to offer. Another asset that it has for this industry is the finest production crews anywhere on planet Earth. And the problem is that many of those crew members don't travel when production leaves. The lucky ones get to go away from their homes to travel. But more of them simply don't work and don't eat if production isn't here in Los Angeles. And so that's why it's so vitally important. And it's important to all of our districts, because it's not just the people who work in the industry. I was on a set yesterday on a location in the Hollywood Hills of a movie that was set to begin production in New Mexico when the Film and Television Production Incentive that I authored passed the legislature, and based on that they made the decision to come back here and shoot in Los Angeles instead of Albuquerque. And that's $25 million of economic activity that's going to happen here instead of there. 150 crew members that are going to be working here instead of there because of that. But we have so much more to do still in the city, and the proposals that have come out of our committee under Mr. Alarcon's leadership are a vitally important next step in that process. We have much more still to do, but this is an important step to demonstrate to this industry, this heritage industry that's a part of our history, such a fundamental part of our economy, that we care about keeping it here, and that we're not simply going to entrust the fact that the industry has always been here to expect that it will continue to stay here. We have to prove that we're good partners for this industry. Angelenos throughout the city are depending upon us to do that. And so, Mr. Alarcon, I thank you, and I rise in support of your proposals. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Krikorian. Mr. Koretz.
Well, I couldn't have said that part better, so I will just thank Mr. Krikorian for his great work at the state level and Mr. Alarcon for his great work at the city level. The only question I would have is, One of the areas that we still don't seem to have had success with is including recreation and parks in all of this. Is there anything that we can do, obviously not at this moment with this item, but to push them to also agree to fee waivers, to lower cost filming in places like Griffith Park, et cetera? And if that effort is being engaged in, what do we need to do to move that forward?
Mr. Alarcon, you want to answer that question?
Item number 31 is all about what Rec and Parks is doing. So there's actually detailed. I'll be happy to pass this on so we don't spend time reading it. But yes, a lot of it has to do with better coordination, better information flow, expediting things. But they're working on it, and yes, I think they have a ways to go. But I think they're greatly improved, as they have improved from year to year. Actually, long before I was looking at this. Thank you.
Anything we need to do to put more pressure on them to move in the right direction and allow for lower cost shooting. Have we done everything we could at this point, or are there logical things we could do to push further?
Mr. Koretz, it sounds like Mr. Alarcon has that moving forward on the motion.
I'm a great believer in continuous improvement, so there's plenty more to do. And as long as there are other jurisdictions that are taking jobs away from Los Angeles, we're going to continue to do the work.
No, I agree. I just think that's the one little bit of a hole in all the good things that we're doing that they still do, I believe, charge too much for the ability to film in some of the really key locations. So I would encourage us to look at that as the next logical step where we could gain more.
Mr. Koretz, that is covered, I believe, under item 31, and Recs and Parks hopefully will comply with that. Mr. Garcetti, to close.
Thank you, and thank you, colleagues. We have such a powerful body here on this issue. Mr. Krikorian's leadership and Mr. Koretz at the state level. Mr. Alarcon and I sat down a few months ago. Mr. Alarcon, I just want to thank you. This is an example of how our council works, folks. We've got a committee chair who has been entrepreneurial, who's been pushing this, emotions that have come from many of us. We sat down with this list, I think it was only 2.5 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, max. And to turn that stuff around as quickly as we have, we talked last year about building out the nodes, and DWP has now built them. We've talked about making sure that we have our facilities open, that we reduce our fees. This is the same week that new film fees in New York City were announced for their city buildings. So anybody who is considering using New York City Hall, come here. It looks even better. LA City Hall has been the Kremlin. We just changed the letters for alias. We've been, courtrooms. We've been the Senate, the United States Senate in many movies. We are a government building that can basically pass off as anything, and we have the right price, free. We are finally yielding, I think, a lot of the fruit from seeds that we planted a long time ago, whether it was with the Ugly Betty motion that then led to a meeting that helped all my children locate in Los Angeles, $35 million a year that will be invested here. Mr. Krikorian, and I talked with Senator Calderon, and I think the statistics I cited while we were talking about the internet tax was that $150 million something has yielded more than $1 billion of revenue, not just economic activity, revenue for the state. And we want to continue pushing that, and I know that a couple of us just joined Mr. Calderon's, Senator Calderon's new organization on the advisory committee, which I encourage you guys to reach out to, on Bring Hollywood Home, which will look at continuing to expand those film credits and looking at the television industry and the post-production industry too, which we've been very good with, but we're seeing post-production move away as well. In the age of T1 lines, you can get all sorts of work done in New Zealand as quickly as here, so we have to be competitive. But this is a fabulous group of motions and of actions. We talk a lot about studies. Now it's getting done. So congratulations, Mr. Alarcon. Thank you for your leadership as chair, and thank you to this council for the great work that they're done as well.
Very well. On items 28 through 32, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Very well. And number 17, forthwith, please. 17, forthwith. Next item, please.
Item 33, called special for Councilmember Huizar. An amending motion has been submitted and distributed to the council.
Mr. Huizar, number 33.
Thank you, Mr. President. And colleagues, this is a motion to request the mayor's volunteer office to create a formal city fellowship program to attract full and part-time volunteer workers so that we can make sure that the city's business is conducted and that we continue to provide people with valuable skills to either hire them later on should the need arise, or to make sure that the city's business is done. We heard about the devastating impacts that the layoffs may have upon city services, and we are at serious risk of seeing libraries affected, rec center programs cut. Policy work that is mandated by the city charter may be left undone. And with every crisis, there is an opportunity. While it is a tragedy that Los Angeles County has nearly 20% unemployment, we as a city can take advantage of the large amount of talented people that we have available and who want to volunteer. The mayor actually found a very innovative way to hire someone for $1 a year. And certainly there are many young people who have recently or will soon graduate with excellent educations but nowhere to work who would be happy to gain experience and polish their resumes. The mayor's volunteer office has an existing program in which it helps to place individuals interested in volunteering for the city in different assignments. I'd like for us to create a premier level of volunteering to try to encourage longer commitments and a higher number of applicants. Now, the state has long had an Assembly Fellowship Program, a Senate Fellowship Program, a Capitol Fellows Program. I, in fact, was an Assembly Fellow many years ago where I gained some very valuable experience as to how the state functions. We should do the same thing here. We can place interested individuals in city departments that need their help. The planning department has already implemented a program to do just that, and due to their massive retirements, and those interested would have to agree to stay longer and work more hours than typical interns, and also sign a contract listing their obligations. So, colleagues, I hope we could approve this item today and have people who are willing to volunteer, have people who have either gone through ERIP or other processes who have recently left the city be able to commit themselves to continue to provide their services to the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Rizar, that matter is before us. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Very well. The matter passes. Next item, please.
Item 54, called Special for Cards.
Number 54. Dr. Williams.
Dr. Clyde Williams, 4115 Bear Road, El Sereno, Northeast LA. The stormwater program. This is just one element of it. Here we go again. Piecemealing. Prop O has a lot of projects in it, but it's only the first of many, many projects. So we want an overall program. Last year we got a semblance of an overall program, but then that apparently has been either withdrawn or set aside or something. But it showed the direction. It indicated that there would be $8 billion worth of works by the year 2020 in order to comply with stormwater discharge to the ocean. From their own information, they said that it would cost, roughly $500 million a year to operate and maintain, 6 to 10% of capital budget. So Prop O was initiated as the beginning of this overall stormwater program. And let's look at it. Prop O, this is only $19 million. However, it's going to cost us around $1.5 million a year to operate and maintain this one facility using the stormwater's O&M percentage. That's equivalent to 30 neighborhood council budgets for 1 year. Just one project. So what I'm concerned about is this is piecemealing of a CEQA document that doesn't reflect the piecemealing. So where will this go? By the way, are you certifying the mitigated negative declaration today? I don't know. It doesn't say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Susie Santolina?
Good afternoon. My name is Susie Santolina, and I'm a water quality scientist at Heal the Bay. It's a pleasure to be here today to speak in support of the adoption of the mitigated negative declaration for the Temescal Canyon Park Stormwater BMP project. Heal the Bay has been involved with PROPO projects such as this from the start. We sit on the PROPO Oversight Committee and worked with the city closely to develop bond measures to assure that PROPO funds are allocated only to projects that provide water quality benefits and reduce toxins and bacteria in polluted waters. As recent as last month, during wet weather, Will Rogers Beach downstream of the proposed project site received Fs on Heal the Bay's beach report card for 3 weeks in a row. The project will lead to compliance with the Wet Weather Santa Monica Bacteria Beaches TMDL and is a critical component in solving the water quality problems at this beach in order to protect public health and the health of aquatic life. This project will not only retain first flush runoff from Temescal Canyon storm drain, which is typically very polluted, but then it will divert it into a sewer to get treated at Hyperion instead of having it go right to the ocean where it would pose a risk to both human and marine life, leading to beach closures and poor grades on the beach report card. I urge the council to move forward with this M&D today so that this project can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could I ask staff to come up for a quick second on this, please? Henrik Kaider, please. Folks, this is a Prop-O, a very exciting one. And first I want to thank the voters who voted yes for Prop-O. That throws money into play that actually is used to clean our storm water and why it needs to be done. In the discussions, my constituents in the Palisades, many of them want to know what was really going on. And I got to tell you, Bernard Kenzie, who's one of the main leaders in our great city, was very happy that the conversations continued. And I want to thank staff for sitting with him and talking about it. So if we could ask you to explain what this is.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Council Member. My name is Kendrick Okuda with the Bureau of Engineering. With me today, this afternoon, is...
I'm Donna Chin with the Bureau of Sanitation.
Maria Martin with the Bureau of Engineering. This project is located in Pacific Palisades in the Temescal Canyon Park, uphill from Will Rogers State Beach. The project is across the street from the beach park, and during rain events, as the speaker just mentioned, the previous speaker, during rain events, the polluted stormwater dumps right into the surf zone at Will Rogers Beach and causes beach closures and degradation of beach water quality. The project will divert stormwater from the Temescal Storm Drain Canyon into a storage tank. It'll remove trash and basically clean up the water. Now, we've conducted an environmental initial study. We studied 18 environmental areas, including air quality, geology, hazardous materials, noise, and traffic. Of the 18 impacts, all were determined to have either no impact or reduced to a level of less than significance with mitigations. The mitigations are all tied to the construction activities of the project. One to mention, a couple to mention include biological resources, where we will protect the native habitat during construction, as well as geology and soils. We will provide an engineering geologist during construction to supervise excavation of the construction site. And then finally, traffic control. Traffic is very important. It's very important to the project that we maintain circulation in the area, and we do have a traffic control plan in place to provide 2 lanes northbound, 2 lanes southbound along Temescal that we're coordinating with the LA Department of Transportation. Finally, I'd like to mention that we have worked very closely with Councilmember Rosendal's community members and stakeholders. We've had over 7 meetings starting from October 2008, lasting over 1 year, so that we could adequately address the concerns of the community. We are satisfied they're addressed appropriately, and we ask for your consideration of the matter today.
What I'd like you to do is two things. Take an interview with the Palisadian Post and give them a full story on that so that they can report it to their constituents, and also go before the Pacific Palisades Neighborhood Council and give them an FYI on it, because they are terribly engaged in a positive way with everybody. It would be helpful if you did that.
Yes, sir.
Good, good. Thank you, Mr. President, and I ask my colleagues for unanimous support on this.
Very well, that matter is now before us. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Matter passes.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Item 62, called special for cards.
62, we have Mr. Arnold Sachs.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. I see all these groups eligible to apply for this funding, but I don't see FART here, Fixing Angelinos Residing in Traffic. So I was wondering if that's just a missed opportunity to FART. But again, studies to overcome the first and last mile utilizing public transportation. Well, maybe if the public transportation was built as it was originally planned, you wouldn't have this problem. Maybe if the Blue Line actually had gone from Long Beach to Pasadena and not stopped in downtown L.A. as it was originally planned to go to Pasadena, you wouldn't have this problem of first and last mile. Maybe if the Red Line actually extended from 7th and Metro east into East L.A., you wouldn't have this problem. But I got an idea. Let's get some money and fund a study. Let's FART.
Thank you very much. There's no speakers in the queue on this item. Madam Clerk, would you please open the roll? Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Next item.
Item 63, called special for Councilmember Zine.
Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Madam President. On this item, we are taking street furniture funds, $697,830.67 from our street furniture funds, and we are going to be providing for the Topanga Division and the West Valley Division of LAPD the purchase installation of 16 security cameras and 4 workstations throughout the council district. And what this will provide is for the Los Angeles Police Department, with the assistance of community members, to monitor locations where they're having incidents of crime. It is a wireless system. The cameras will be able to be located in areas that are sensitive to crime activity, and they can be moved. It is a wireless system, state-of-the-art, and the appropriations come from street furniture funds. Those are funds that each council office receives, and we've been saving dollars to provide this for those 2 divisions in the West Valley area, both Topanga Division and West Valley Division, so the folks in the West Valley will know that we're going to enhance their public safety and assist the Los Angeles Police Department in areas where there are crime spikes. They will move these cameras around. They'll monitor them at the station. They can dispatch units from the station or in the field to make sure that we keep the West Valley a safe area. So that's what we're going to be using street furniture funds for, so we request that we would approve this expenditure of street furniture funds for the LAPD for the installation of that camera system to maintain safety in the 3rd Council District. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Please open the roll on that item. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Next item.
Item 66, called special for cards.
All right. Dr. Clyde Williams and Arnold Sachs are our 2 speakers. All right, Arnold Sachs, you're our next speaker after Mr. Williams.
Dr. Clyde Williams, 4115 Barrett Road, El Sereno. Why on this one? Well, it's a Caltrans issue. You're going to get some money for downtown. However, we have almost 500 houses in El Sereno that we don't get any grants to help maintain them. Caltrans doesn't maintain them because all the rental money goes to Sacramento rather than going directly to the units within El Sereno. So all we're asking for is, hey, some equitability. Why not get a grant for refurbishing the derelict houses that Caltrans has allowed to occur during the last 20 years that I know of, maybe 30 years. So Caltrans grants, I would highly recommend helping 200 to 300 families in El Sereno with a grant? Thank you.
Mr. Sachs?
Restart the clock. Thank you. Grants. Why not a grant for the Green Line extension to the airport? And speaking of a grant, does that cover just the salary for the positions? How many positions will this grant encompass for this study? And the salaries to be paid and the benefits to be paid for the people doing the work? Who pays for the benefits? How is that accounted for? Who pays for the health care benefits of the workers employed through this grant? Who pays for the retirement funds for the workers employed through this grant? Where will that money come from? Is this another one of these losing propositions where you're going to get $1, but it's going to cost $3 to earn that dollar? A wonderful idea. More grants, more money, more transportation, more studies, more nothing. Thank you.
There are no speakers in the queue on this item. Would you please open the roll? Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Next item. Forthwith on that item.
Item number
Mr. Speaker?
66, thank you.
Yes. Next item.
Item 67, called special for card.
Mr. Sachs, you have a card in on this item? And you have 1 minute left for today.
No, ma'am, I have 2 minutes left. I should have 2 minutes. I should have 2 minutes. I stopped talking at 1 minute. Your clock kept running. This is important. Los Angeles Census Week. And you might have read the editorial in the Downtown News from the chairperson, Honest Jan Perry, regarding the importance of the census, how you will have an opportunity to speak on the future of development. Take, for example, the LA Live development that was proposed back in the mid-'70s. I'm sure the public had a lot of input on that, how all these rights and adjustments were vetted through meetings at the city council. You had a lot of opportunity to input that. The real problem is, this is a damned if you do and damned if you don't situation. If you don't take part in the census, then the federal money that is involved will not be forthcoming. If you do take part in the census, then the federal money that they may receive will be misappropriated because there's always another third party. So again, I say, damned if you do and damned if you don't, but try to get counted.
Thank you very much. Please open the roll on that item. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Next item.
Would you like to recess the regular meeting and go into the special meeting?
Yes, we can do that.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Hahn, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti, 11 members present and a quorum, Madam President.
All right, what is the matter before us?
Item 69 is an item for which public hearing has been held. The committee report has been submitted and distributed to the council.
All right, there are no members in the queue on this item, so would you please open the roll on it, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Next matter.
Items 70 through 71 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Madam President?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Ms. Hahn.
Yeah, I've been asked if we could refer item 70 back to HCED.
If there's no objection to that, Ms. Hahn has made a request to refer item 70 back to HCED.
Thank you.
It'll be without objection. All right, on the remaining items.
Your mic's not on.
Item 71.
71, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Next item.
The next item is 72. It is closed session item.
Really? Okay, maybe I'm not close to it. Okay. All right, closed session item, item 72 that was?
72.
All right. If we could clear the chamber from unnecessary personnel so that we can convene on this closed session item. We are back, almost back. We are now back in open session. Madam Clerk, what is our next item?
If I could jump in, Council gave the City Attorney's Office direction that there's no further action required on this item.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Next item?
Wish to adjourn special and return to the regular meeting?
Yes.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Motions are posted and referred.
And there are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Hahn requests to be excused on Friday, March 26th, and Tuesday, April 27th, and to leave at 1 o'clock on Tuesday, March 23rd, all for personal business. This meets council policy.
While Mr. Garcetti is urging a no vote, that'll be without objection.
Councilmember Parks requests to arrive at 10:45 on Wednesday, March 31st for city business. This meets council policy.
Without objection.
Councilmember Perry requests to leave at 10:45 on Tuesday, March 30th for city business. This meets council policy.
That seems fine.
The desk is clear.
Members, are there any announcements?
Over here, Ms. Perry.
I'm sorry. Let me check on this side first. Mr. Cardenas, do you have an announcement? Do you have an announcement? Mr. Cardenas has an announcement.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, council members, for participating in the No Ruse celebration. Today, I'm going to announce every Friday between now and April 4th that at Lake Balboa Park, which is at 6300 Balboa Boulevard, the community knows it as Lake Balboa, on Sunday, April 4th, they'll be celebrating No Ruse, and that portion of the park. It's 2,000 acres, so the park's going to be open to everybody, but the portion around the lake, a small portion of the park, is going to be reserved for a No Ruse celebration that will be taking place from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Balboa Park in the San Fernando Valley. All are welcome. Last year, we had over 15,000 people participate, and we expect that this year it will be just as successful. And again, to celebrate No Ruse on April 4th, which is Sunday, April 4th, 2 Sundays from now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to give this again. On the next 3 days, all customers of Wells Fargo and Wachovia that are having difficulty on their mortgage loans, there's going to be a free seminar at the LA Convention Center the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 10 a.m. to 7. And the number is 1-800-405-8067. Also want to remind everybody that our last meeting of the Budget on the Road series is March 22nd, and it's going to be at 6 o'clock at the Expo Center, 3980 Menlo, room 203. And then the final is that the MTA is coming into the community to do 5 community meetings regarding the Crenshaw line. And these meetings will be held between the 23rd of March and the 31st of March. And we ask the public to give a call to 213-891-2965 for information and locations.
Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Madam President. Sergeant Arms, can you come over here, please? We'd like to announce to the world that on March 21st, 1963, Sergeant Arms Steve Morris was born. His birthday is the 21st of March. Happy birthday to our Sergeant Arms. That keeps us safe and secure. Thank you.
Cardenas. Mr. Cardenas.
Madam President, point of personal privilege, there's rumors going around that I retired, and it actually says in the city employee newspaper, it says, "So long, Tony and Ralph." Tony Cardenas retired after 39 years as an electrician with the city of Los Angeles. See, everybody's happy. They think I'm leaving. No, that's not me. That's not. I would have had to start working here when I was 8. No, but I just want to thank Tony Cardenas for his wonderful work. I think he's got a great name, but that's not me, ladies and gentlemen. I hope to hang around here a little bit longer. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Rosendahl.
Yeah, I just want to announce that Mike Bonin, my chief of staff, has his birthday today, and we're blessed to have him.
Very good, very good.
That guy. Let's give him a noogie.
All right, all rise for adjourning motions, please. Mr. Alarcon.
I'm rising to recognize the passing of Vincent R. Gutierrez. He is the brother of my sister's boyfriend, and my sister's boyfriend, who I've known since I was 14 years old. So we've known this family for many, many years. Passed away, Vincent Gutierrez passed away at the age of 64 in his sleep Saturday, March 6th, at his home in Indio, California. He was born on December 28, 1945. He attended parochial schools in Glendale, and also attended Cathedral High School and Glendale High School. He also attended Glendale Community College. Vincent was a primetime Emmy-winning sound editor and longtime governor of the Academy of Television and Arts and Sciences. He served 6 terms on the Academy's Board of Governors, representing the sound editors peer group. His career spanned more than 40 years, and he began his career at Paramount Studios in 1964 as a member of the Motion Picture Film Editors Guild. He later joined the NBC Productions editorial staff, working on Bonanza and High Chaparral. In 1974, he became a post-production supervisor for Michael Landon Productions, and during his years with Landon, he also wrote numerous episodes of Little House on the Prairie, Father Murphy, and Highway to Heaven. Vincent garnered 4 Primetime Emmy nominations for Outstanding Sound Edition for a miniseries, and won twice. The first time in 1987 for the NBC film Unnatural Causes, and the second time in 1990 for the ABC film Challenger. He also won the Golden Reel Award and was nominated for an Imagine Award. He's survived by his wife Linda of 32 years, his daughters Kimberly and Carrie, and their son Chris. He's also survived by 2 grandchildren, his brother Michael, who is my sister's boyfriend. And let me say, his brother Michael is also a film editor, an Emmy Award-winning editor, and his sister Mary Jo. He will be truly missed. I attended the ceremony, and he had a huge following of people who came to express their condolences. So we wish our best to their family.
Can you add me on there, please?
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Alarcon. Ms. Hahn?
Yeah, I'd like us to adjourn in memory of Fess Parker, who, for any of us who grew up in the 50s, he certainly was an icon as Davy Crockett, one of the first Disney TV shows. Buddy Epson was his sidekick. And Fess Parker, I think every little boy that I knew had one of those coonskin hat with the tail. Everybody, my brother had one, and he also appeared as Daniel Boone later in a TV series, and then he ended up in his second chapter of life as a great winemaker in California, and had a winery in the Santa Barbara area. He died yesterday. Ironically, he died on the birthday of his wife, Marcella, who he'd been married to for 50 years. So he died at 85. I got to meet him a couple times personally. Just a great, gracious gentleman, and really meant a lot to, again, all of us who grew up in the 50s. Davy Crockett, Fess Parker. May he rest in peace.
Mr. Koretz?
Yeah, before I say what I was going to say, I'd also say I lived in Santa Barbara for a year, and Fess Parker had an incredible impact upon Santa Barbara, not just in the wine business, but in the hotel business, and I'm sure he'll be missed particularly by the residents of Santa Barbara City and County. I'd also like to adjourn in memory of Leah Adelpour. Leah was born April 30th, 1955 in Shiraz, Iran. She married Khosrow Adelpour in 1979, and shortly thereafter moved to the United States. While she was very successful in her flower business, she was a very modest woman who considered her family to be her greatest achievement in life. She was a devoted wife and loving mother to her 2 daughters, Nellie and Alicia. And through her devout Judaism and cheerful disposition, she was able to stay upbeat during a lengthy battle with breast cancer, and was thankful just to be able to see her daughter Nellie's wedding day. Because of her enormous heart and generosity of spirit, hundreds of family members and friends paid their respect at her funeral recently, and even more attended a memorial service later. And she will be missed by many hundreds of people who knew her and loved her.
Thank you, Mr. Koretz. Any other adjourning motions? All right, well, with that, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?